Good evening and welcome to Poker Night Live. My name's Mark Prince Charles Banin, and alongside me this evening is none other than the legendary Caspar Berry.
Oh, legendary.
Legendary, yeah.
I can get used to that.
Yeah, sounds good, doesn't it?
It's not true, but...
I think it is true,
Nice.
actually. I think there's a certain truth to it.
Thank you, Mark.
All the viewers on our forums are saying, where's Cass, where's Cass? And
Here I am.
Here he is. Here he is. Couldn't do without you.
Thank you.
You've left a lasting impression on us. Now, what we're going to be watching tonight is a variation of poker called Texas Hold'em. Now, for those new viewers who are not familiar with poker and Texas Hold'em, I'll give you a quick run through what it is. Every player gets 2 hidden hold cards, which only they can see. There are 5 community cards, which everyone can use. You take all 7 cards, make your best 5-card poker hand, and in between all of that, there are 4 rounds of betting, and it's the betting that decides who are the winners and who are the losers. Now, the great thing about this show is that it is a live show. We get to see everyone's hold cards. That's right. You can actually sit in their shoes and decide how you would have played those particular hands and whether you would have done anything different. Now, I did say it is a live show. I'm live. Cass is live. The show's live. The poker is delayed, however, by 5 minutes. And what that means is that that's to stop someone turning on a TV and seeing what each other's cards are. So that's how we prevent that from happening. Now, I did say it's a live show. It's also an interactive show, which means that you can actually contact either myself or Cass throughout the course of the evening and ask us any questions that you like, poker related, of course, preferably poker related. Although we do have sort of other things, don't we, as well?
We'll digress.
The way you do that is 2 ways. First way is by texting poker to 84222.
Oh, that's changed.
It has indeed. Yeah, it's a new one, so don't forget. 84222 is the number. Poker is the word you need to text. Put in your message after that and put your name at the bottom, and we'll read it out live on air. There is another way of doing it. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
That's the same, though.
That hasn't changed.
No, that hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed, yeah. So there we have it. So without further ado, I think we're going to have a look around the table. So let's go through the square window. It's not so square, though, is it? It's a bit more oblong.
Yeah, more of a lozenge.
Yeah, it's like lozenge shaped, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So this one is a $5 Cass that we've got here.
$5 sit and go there. And the beginning levels. I'm sure we'll come back to that later on. Oh, tightly, tightly.
This one is a $10 sit and go. This one's a sit. Yeah, it is a sit and go, yeah.
Also starting off, there's Hoofy in seat 3. Some things never change, do they? You go away for a few weeks, Hoofy's there in seat 3. Thank God.
It is indeed. Table number 3.
Little cash game, 50 cents. And who do I know there? Nobody at all. So I'll be making some new friends tonight.
Oh, you don't know Benny Pump? He's been around a little while.
Has he?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you have been away for a while.
I have. Don't deny it.
So that's table 3, and of course table 4 is going to be our multi-table tourney, which nice.
What does that mean? P&L $2,000. What does that mean?
They've actually added $2,000 to the prize fund.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a great comp. A great comp.
What were we doing sitting here?
I know. Tell me about it. I was looking at that and thinking, oh, that's not a bad little $10 comp to go into.
What? How many players have they got in it?
I don't know. Let's have a quick look. Started off with 104. Oh dear. So they've basically tripled the value, in effect.
Are you joking?
No. So basically they've said we're going to add $20 per person into that.
Is it too late to start?
It is, yeah. I'm afraid so. Just a little.
That's a massive add-on.
It's a huge add-on, huge value. Yeah.
Is it a rebuy?
No. Freeze out.
What are you all doing watching the show?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? This is a great thing about poker. This is one of the things, isn't it? We're talking about poker selection. We talked about game selection in the past, haven't we? One of the things about game selection is also tournament selection. Mm-hmm. And if you can get any of these tournaments whereby you're actually getting money added in, and it's such a significant amount in this case, I mean, they're actually adding in, well, twice what you've paid.
It's absolutely massive.
It's huge, isn't it?
It's like the World Series adding 100 million into the prize fund.
It's crazy, isn't it? It just wouldn't happen. So
it wouldn't happen, though.
Yeah, you don't get $7.5 million first prize, though. We've got to warn you of that. But still, the prizes are pretty good none the same. Definitely, and it's a nice tournament, nicely structured. And I think they even might start off with a few more chips as well. I think they start off with 2,000 chips. So yeah,
okay.
So it's great tournament to be in. Lots of structure, lots of prizes. Definitely one that I'll be spending time playing in the future if I'm not working. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I think it's time we have a look at that multi-table tourney and see how these boys are playing out.
Buggers. So, Dead Spider's there, one of my favourite questioners. Always good with the questions and observations. A man who sussed for himself the fact that Sklansky's fundamental theorem of poker doesn't work. True story. And I agreed with him completely. Who else we got? Linda 007. Does that make her a Bond girl? Who knows? She's behind on this though to Eltrev with the bigger kicker, but will position take it. It may well do. They don't really have a call, do they? Linda says she does. She's going to draw to the jack, by crikey.
Okay. I think we'll take one or two more hands. Cass, and perhaps I don't know if our boys in the back can show us a few more of these tables. Okay, so
don't ask me.
Yeah, I think we will. We like to see some of these players, how they're playing out. Although Dead Spider's in good position at the moment, isn't he? He's got 6,000 chips, tripled his starting stack in the first level, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, someone on his right must have been donating.
Well, look at that. And Captain G also has been donated a bunch there. Gosh, he's tripled up as well. And this is in the first level. Incredible. It's a fact thing that he's managed to get 4,000 chips when the blinds are 10-20.
In a tournament, which is going to add twice the buy-in to the prize pool.
Well, he's laughing at the moment, isn't he? 300 times the big blind he's got. You don't get that very often. So he's laughing at the moment. He just needs to make sure he doesn't spend too much on draws and doesn't spend too much chasing flush draws and that sort of thing. And as long as he doesn't do that, he should progress quite nicely. It's one way of losing a lot of chips, isn't it? When you keep chasing when you've got a lot, you think you've got them many chips, and before you know it, you're down to the wire.
Very true. Certainly a mistake I made for a long time. Still do on occasion.
Well, Jumbawamba is trying to see how much can I extract of this guy, and that's about probably could have extracted a bit more, I think, out of him. He probably thought his kings and fours with a jack kicker was good enough. His 7 didn't play there. You're wondering why I said a jack kicker. He did have king 7, however, he would have played the jack on the board there. There was a paired board, which means that jack is the biggest one.
Yep.
So we've got an interesting bunch of hands here. What's Buffy be good with the top pair at the moment? He's putting in a bet there to see if he has got the best hand. A little bit of a feeler bet, but...
Do you like that into 3 players, Mark? Would you...
Well, there's 2 ways of playing it, isn't there? I think there's either... he hasn't seen any resistance up to that point, I don't think. So I think... and he's in there for very cheap, so you must think that he's got a good chance that he's not playing ace-queen or anything like that. It's just the case whether someone's playing jack-queen, I guess. 10, queen 10, something like that, perhaps. So I don't mind it so much. Yeah, it's better than check raising, I think, in that particular situation. What do you think?
Yeah, I think with a bad kicker, it's better than check raising.
Yeah, if it was against 1 player, then I don't mind a check raise, but against 3, I probably want to lead out, and just in case they all check round, and then I don't know where I am anymore.
Yeah, ironically, I would say in a limit game, it's the opposite. Against 3 players, you've got to check raise because a bet is not going to eliminate those players.
No.
So if you want to drive out those draws, or at least give those draws an incorrect price to pay, you've got to check. And if the next position bets, then you can fold your top pair because you've got an awful kicker, and he's basically saying that he's got a better hand than you.
Right.
And if the bet comes from the last position, then you can raise it up and use that check raise to eliminate.
Well, there are some interesting views there from Cass. It's very important as to when you are looking to check raise, is that who's actually the person who's betting out.
Yeah, it's absolutely fundamental. And I mean, because you can eliminate and use strength in the no-limit game, a lot of people, when they come to limit, don't think strategically enough about how their raises are going to play out and what their raises need to do. The absolute crucial question that you need to ask yourself for the purposes of elimination, the limit game, is who's going to bet. In other words, is it a table? First of all, do you see any strength at the table? That's obviously harder online than in real life. And is the guy to your right an aggressive player, or is it the kind of table that's going with position? In other words, is the last player very often betting out anyway? Because if that's the case, then your check raise will eliminate. And that's not necessarily what you want to do, because calling 2 cold bets in limit poker is a real no-no unless you've got a good hand. And you may, if you've got a great hand, you may not want to eliminate some hands that are inferior to you. So you may not want to check raise with trips. You might not even want to check raise sometimes. Well, you would with top pair. But you certainly don't mind players incorrectly drawing you if they're getting an incorrect price at poker.
Just explain to our viewers what you mean by cold bets, Cass.
So in limit poker, the principle of calling 2 cold bets means if I bet out, someone just has to call one bet. Whereas if, let's say I bet and then someone raises, the third person has to call, it's 2 bets cold. Yeah, that's the phrase that's used, calling 2 bets cold. 2 bets just off the bat there. And there's a principle in limit poker, which is that obviously on the turn the bet is smaller than on the flop the bet is smaller than on the turn. But calling 2 bets cold on the turn, you can only do with a decent hand, and it's a real move that you can do to get a tell on people, and actually check raising the turn for that reason is such a powerful play against the guy to your left.
Right.
So. So yeah, it's just one of the differences between limit and no limit, and it's one of the arguments that Mason Malmuth makes for the fact that limit game is a more skillful game. Now, I don't hold that it's a more skillful game. I think it's a silly thing to say. I think they're just different games.
Yeah.
But I certainly think it's an area in which, if you dismiss the skill in limit on that basis, then I think you're making a mistake, because there is a lot of skill from that point of view. You need to have more, let's put it this way, you need to have more of an awareness of what your opponents are going to do in response to what you're going to do from that point of view in the limit game.
Now, I haven't looked at it recently, Cass, but I've been following Daniel Negreanu and his blog recently, and I haven't followed it for the last couple of weeks or so, but he's been playing online against Patrick Antonius.
Right.
And up to a couple of weeks ago, he was down over 200,000 to him.
Excellent.
Online in a limit game.
Wow.
I think it was, I can't remember exactly the limits. I think it was 300, 600 or something like that, but I'm not really that sure.
Okay.
So it obviously shows that there is a lot of skill to it. But at the same token, he plays, I don't know if you're reading any of those blogs, but he does play extremely aggressively. Mm-hmm. Patrick Antonius, that is.
Is he playing heads up?
Yeah, he's just playing heads up. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was an interesting statement that Daniel said. He comes out and basically says words to the effect of, "Do you know what? I think he's just a better player than me."
Wow.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I've just been talking with Nick actually about Daniel Negreanu, and Nick is saying that I assume it's the same thing. That blog, he's saying he thinks it's the best writing in poker at the moment.
Oh, it's fantastic, it's superb. Yeah, he's very open. He brings a real freshness to the writing, and that's the great thing about it. He's very open about it. If he doesn't want to say something about it, he just says, "I'm not going to tell you about that because I don't. I do sell a lot of stuff, but that's one thing I don't want to talk about."
Yeah.
So he's very fresh about it.
So there we go, folks. We're adding Daniel Negreanu's blog to our list of recommended reads. Certainly, Nick is speaking incredibly highly of it. So is Mark here today. And I think Daniel Negreanu's always been like that. To be honest with you, I think he's long been quite an undervalued, underestimated source of information about poker. Because, as you say, of his honesty. I mean, how many times will Phil Hellmuth say, I think he was just a better player than me?
Never.
Which is a shame, because there are times.
Well, how many would say that anyway? In the poker world?
Sure.
In fact, I can't think of too many that would actually say that anyway.
No, sure.
But
I always think it's the mark of a great player that can say he's made a mistake. In fact, it's only good players that can say they've made mistakes. Actually, Phil Hellmuth, to give him credit, does say when he's made a mistake, and he does engage in debates. It's just it's always weighted at some point in the monologue that he holds the monopoly on truth. But yeah, you don't get to be a player of Phil Hellmuth's standard unless you've gone out there and you've asked questions and you've sought answers and you've said that I need to learn. That's very important. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to reading this blog then, to be honest with you, because there you are. That's 2 recommendations in one day.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff he's got to go. He's got quite an archive there, and I think it's even worth reading the old stuff.
Yeah.
So, back to the game in question. Just to remind our viewers that this Sunday we've got a first Poker Bowl qualifier, which Poker Night Live will be covering.
Excellent.
Which is excellent stuff, yeah. So it's going to be very exciting. So very, very important to watch that, and because we're going to get a nice finale there when it does culminate in a Poker Bowl final.
That'd be great. Get on TV, folks. Playing poker. So, a couple of low aces here, ace-9 and ace-7. I'm developing a pathological hatred of them, Mark. I don't know about you.
What's that, ace-7?
Yeah, just ace-9 and ace-7. I don't know whether this is the limit player within me because they're just such death in limit, but a bit of a semi-bluff there from Dead-Eyed. He's only really got a low flush draw, but Colfie calls. I wonder whether I wouldn't have made that a slightly bigger bet if we're making that semi-bluff. He's bet people out of the pot with it, so he really has to win it there and then, because it's if he was just playing for the flush, then he should have called along and kept other players along for the ride. As it is, he's lost value by eliminating players early doors, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's... let's just see what happens here, if he's going to get paid off.
I think he probably will. I mean, Colfie...
Yeah, I can't see he's going to fold for that little bet.
Called on the flop. But my point, Mark, is the point about a semi-bluff is... Oh, no, did he call? Or did he fold? All happened very quickly.
He did, he called, yeah.
The point about a semi-bluff is you've got to win it there and then. That's the whole point of the semi-bluff.
Yeah.
If you don't win it there and then it's failed. Then you've got the backup of the semi element of it. But if you've got 4 players and you semi-bluff into it, you've either got to win it there and then, or it's an idiot play.
Yeah.
Because you basically want a smooth call and draw them along for the flush value, really, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's like you said, you either want to win it there and then, or it has failed. There's no point just knocking out players at that point.
No.
Because you're either going to get paid or you're not.
That's right. So, I mean, so therefore my conclusion would be that it should have been bigger, effectively.
Yeah, no, can't disagree with you on that one, absolutely. Well, we've got an email, although we also have got a nice sit and go coming up. So let's do the email first. It's one from Dave Walker, and he's saying, hi guys, this is my question. I was in a multi-table tournament and was dealt pocket jacks, one of which was a club. There was one raiser who raised about 3 times a big blind. 2 players folded, 1 player called. I decided to call. The flop came 9-5-3 with 2 clubs on board. I was very aware of the 2 clubs, so I checked. The original raiser who checked, which led me to believe that he had been raising pre-flop with an ace or something. The other 1 player also checked at this point. I didn't think the other 2 had 2 clubs, as they would have come out betting.
So hang on a second, Mark. So he's got a perception that 2 clubs on board is scary.
Yeah.
He said, I was wary. I know there's more of the email, but let's just point out now. He says, I'm wary of the 2 clubs, so I checked. That's incorrect, though, isn't it? As
yeah, absolutely.
That's when precisely you should be betting.
Yeah.
Because you're wary of the 2 clubs.
Yeah, you'd be worried of 3 clubs, but not 2 clubs.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll come back to that point, but I think that's an important point.
The one thing I will say, just before reading any part of that, I haven't read the email until now, but the one thing I will say is that if the original raiser has got 2 other people on board with him, and he's checking a board of 9-5-3, I think he bets out with ace-king or something. He's not betting out, in my opinion, unless he's hit the set. This is what I tend to feel. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I had 1 club. The turn came 8 of clubs. Okay, so there's now 3 clubs on board. I decided to bet this time as I was very wary of the 3 clubs. Okay, I went all in as I didn't think any of the other 2 had 2 clubs and I wanted to represent the flush. Okay, well, I don't think you'd do that. That's not really representing the flush, though, is it, by going all in?
No.
You're actually saying that I don't want anyone else in. Anyway, the original, you're actually saying I've got something that I don't want to see a 4th club on board, is really what you're saying by that move. But anyway, the original raiser folded, but the other player called, okay? The other guy had queen 8 with 1 club. The queen was a club. The river was a 4 of clubs. We both had a flush. Mine was jack, his was a queen. As I had a bigger stack, my opponent wasn't eliminated, but my stack was crippled, and I couldn't recover from this. How should I have played this hand? Okay.
Differently.
Yeah, differently. I think, go on, let's see how you played it first, Cass.
Oh, I haven't a clue. Well, first of all, I don't mind calling with the jacks before the flop. How many did he have at that point?
There was just 1 raiser at that point, as far as I know.
Just 1 raiser?
It was where the singles. Let's have a look. There was 1 raiser who raised about 3 times a big blind. 2 players folded, 1 player called. All right, so he was a 3rd.
Okay. So I mean, I hate playing jacks 3-handed anyway, but okay, I'm happy to call. If I'd been the next player, I would certainly have re-raised with my jacks. But okay, we can deal with the call because he's probably into that mindset of I don't want to raise with jacks because this other guy could have called with ace king, and now suddenly I'm getting into a pot with a lot of overcards and not knowing where I am. However, I do think that when someone calls, I do think you're better than them. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not going to have queens, kings, and aces and just call.
Yes.
Or it's unlikely.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the kind of hand they would re-raise with. So if you think that the guy who just called would put it down for a sizable re-raise, then I would make the sizable re-raise. Okay, that's the first thing.
Yep.
The next thing is there's a confusion here, Dave, and I mean this with all due respect to you. Really, you want to bet when there's 2 clubs on board because you don't want to be giving people with the 4 clubs a free card. So you want to be betting out because you've got the overcards. And if the original raiser particularly re-raises you, okay, well that's time to slow down because then he's saying he's got a bigger pair. He could be doing that incidentally with 10s. Probably if he had 9s with the set, he'd probably call you. But he could be doing.
He might even try it with 8s, thinking that doesn't think you've got a 9. So
he might do. That would be a very aggressive play for lower limit players. But it could be a reckless play with lower limit players. Now, when the turn came out of clubs and you decided to bet this time to where are the 3 clubs, that's the kind of fundamental confusion because that's when you really want to slow down when there's 3 clubs and all you've got is a pair of lousy jacks. And I remember thinking when you just read the first line of the email, 1 jack was a club, and I remember thinking. So, that doesn't matter to me at all.
Yeah.
A jack high flush is neither here nor there when it's just 1 card.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're in a pot with a jack high flush and you've got 2 callers with you at the river, then you're worst.
Yeah.
If they come with you all that way. So that's the problem there for me. I would have bet much more aggressively to begin with, and then I would have slowed down when the flush possibility was on board. And if people are going to check to me with 3 clubs on board, then I'll definitely bet it.
Yeah.
What was that third club? It was
an 8, I think.
So he's still got an overpair to the board, actually.
He has, yeah.
Okay. So if it's checked to me in that situation, then I may well bet out. But I won't do it because I'm wary of the 3 clubs. I'll do it because it's been checked to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm much the same with Cass with most of that. I think Cass, you said something very interesting in one of your earlier comments, and that is I don't want to play 3-handed.
No.
And you're right. And plus, you've got a great opportunity for a squeeze play as well. You've got 1 caller. Now, the original raiser is now wondering what the second caller was going to basically be doing. So that's something else to consider. So personally, I think I would have, like Cass, I would have liked to have re-raised there. I don't want to be playing it 3-way. I don't mind playing it heads up. I certainly don't want to be playing it 3-way. And I might even get it worse than 3-way if someone else now says, okay, well, I'll call with my 7-8 offsuit because I'm getting value. So I certainly don't want that to happen. I don't want to be playing it 4-way or 5-way, definitely. Yeah. So that's one thing.
But the last thing you want to be doing there is going all in because what you're saying is you've got 3 clubs on board. Okay, so if they've waited for the flush, it's been checked around on the flop. You have no information for them. Now they've waited for the flush. If someone is sitting there patiently, you've suddenly gone all in. You've jeopardised your entire place in that tournament. When you've acknowledged the board is scary. So it's a misinterpretation of when to go all in. And in fact, on the forums, there's a thread at the moment which is when to go all in. And maybe we should talk about this a little bit tonight because I think it's one of the most common mistakes that people make in poker. Actually, is when they go all in. I think people are jeopardising their positions in tournaments. I think people are over-betting the pot.
This is specific to tournaments.
Often. Yeah, but cash games as well. People misunderstand the concept of all in. And all in is a tremendously powerful move because it denies your opponent the ability to come over the top. So it denies your opponent the ability to use aggression and to put you to a decision. So it has removed one of his decisions, but it's also removed your decisions, your abilities to play around with that. And I think the bottom line is, I wouldn't be moving all in for any more than 10 times the pot.
Right.
Generally. I think 10, 12 times the pot, in an extreme case, is the maximum I'd move all in for. I'm trying to think if there are any exceptions to that, but I don't think so. So I think once you get to that level, unless you've got the nuts.
To me, that sounds about right.
Unless you've got the nuts and you're in a situation where you know that some reckless guy will call, or you're re-raising someone, you know that you're in a situation where they'll call. Because they get too easily pot committed. But I think that unless you're in that situation, you basically expose yourself to the minority of times when you'll be called and beaten, they're going to win too much from you. And you're not going to win enough on the occasions when you just win the pot there and then.
Right. Okay, well, some good advice there. He's also looking for a poker nickname. Any suggestions? He's been called a bully, but he doesn't like it.
He's Dave Walker.
Yeah.
So something like crisps, or something like what are those frame things? Frame Walker? I don't know.
Zimmer frames.
Zimmer frame. Dave Zimmer frame Walker.
Yeah.
Dave Dog Walker.
Dave E-Dog Walker, there you go. Okay, some great names from very quick thinking there, Mr. Cas. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Okay, let's head over to a sit and go tournament, which we've got lined up for you. It's a $10 sit and go, so let's see how these boys play out. Okay, we're in the early stages yet. So I think we've had about 5-6 hands. So let's see. Now this is interesting. Look at this, Cas. We could only have had 5 or 6 hands so far, and the chip stacks are really starting to be all over the place, which is very unusual. Usually you get a couple of, still on 1,000 or whatever. But here, everyone is on different varying amounts.
Yeah. Are we still doing Beat the Presenter? Have I got to do this later on today?
I think you have. Yeah. Is it your turn today? Probably is, I think.
I've done 4. How many have you done?
Same. So you've got a better record than me, so you have a go. They still want to beat you. There's no challenge with me anymore.
3 first and a second. Can't say it too often, I don't think.
No, you can't. Shut up, will you?
What, you won the Presenters Tournament?
Okay, but that's sort of ancient history. It's almost a year ago now. It was last August, I think, wasn't it?
Can't remember, I was so hungover.
I'll never forget that look you gave me when I check raised you on one particular hand you raised and I called you from a small blind.
Did I staring at you for a while?
You gave me such an evil look.
I've long felt that if you don't stare at people in poker, you're passing up a great opportunity just to stare at people. Because how many times in life you just get to stare at people?
Yeah, true.
For minutes on end. It's always been my favourite part of poker. There's a player in Newcastle who I rate as one of the best players I've ever played with. And I'm now really, really good friends with him, but we had such an unfortunate sort of introduction to our relationship because we were down to the last 4 or something like that. And I made a bet, and he raised me, and it was a crucial moment. I wasn't using the situation or anything like that. It was a really important situation, and I just stared at him without breaking it for about 2 minutes because I had to try and get a read on him, and I ended up folding the hand. I'm fairly sure that he had it, but he looked at me after about a minute and a half, and he went, "Oh, I'm really scared." And I remember actually being quite nervous because he's the kind of guy that could handle himself, and I didn't know what he was going to make of it. So I went up to him at the end of the tournament. I said, "Hope you don't mind. It's all in the game, sort of thing." And he went, "Yeah, no, it's cool. But I think you got to take those opportunities. You've got to do that. It's when you get most of your information." 2 pairs for swinger. Quite appropriate, really. And
Doesn't need it though.
JGD.
I don't think he's going to let it go now with just 90 chips left.
No.
So I think the beginning of the end for JGD, sure enough.
Needs a queen.
Oh,
Gets a queen.
Unbelievable. Gosh. And Swinger is swung his last.
No, he's still got 90.
He has. He can still do it.
He can come back from that. I came back from that the other day to from 70, to 8,000, and then went out.
Yeah, I was going to
Sorry,
say.
I'm so angry with myself. So angry. I was just sitting there going, God, I've fought and fought and fought, and obviously you need luck. I've fought and fought and fought. How on earth can I go out now?
Well, Swinger biding his time. Lost in here. Likes his Jack Queen.
Now,
and you'd like a Jack to appear on this flop.
The producer is currently logging me into Spin Palace because I'm going to play the Beat the Presenter. I do trust that no one's been using my account while I've been away.
I was tempted actually today to use it.
Can the producer confirm or deny this? Because there have been some issues with this, haven't there? People say they can't log into their account. Can we use Caspar's account?
Yeah, but you've got lots of money.
Well, that is my money. I've raised that for charity, and you guys are all weeing it away.
No, I've not been guilty of that. I must say, it was very tempting. I was going to have a look at your account compared to my account, and I was thinking, well, you can do with a little loss here. Let's play $100 sit and go.
It's not me. It's the kids in hospital that I feel sorry for.
Well, a little call there from Del Boy. Del Boy was very unfortunate the other day.
Really?
I was watching him in a multi-table a couple of days ago, I think it was, and he went heads up in the multi-table $10 one that we normally see. He had about 150,000. The other guy had 14,000, and he lost. So
Well, that hurt.
it did. Yeah, I felt gutted for him.
John Clark was telling me the other day about a backgammon outdraw. Now, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was billions to one. Right, it was a really comical amount. Right, it was billions to one. It was just technically, basically impossible. This guy needed one set of 25 rolls against another one set of 25 rolls to win. And the guy who suffered it, who was apparently a really good player, never played again. Gave up the game. He just went, that's insane.
Yeah, there you go. It does happen. Any game where there's a swing of, there's a gamble element to it, that's what's going to happen. So Swinger is all in with his ace-3. He's going to get called by another ace-3 who's given him a little bit of protection, which he'll be pleased about. And barring a lot of... but JG... Well, look at this. JGD actually folded. Well, they're going to split this pot. Had a pair of sevens, and he folded it. Wow. And we can see that his pair of sevens would have been good, regardless whether it had a spade or not. So, very tight play there from JGD. Be interesting to see how this one progresses.
People have been using my account, Mark.
Have they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get a history thing on it. See who's been doing it. Call the police.
Well, no, they'll all be logged in under my name, won't they? They've got the same login code.
Oh, of course, yeah. But you can see by the night.
Typical.
It's not fair, is it?
Not really, no.
Change the password.
Just see the looks on their little faces at Christmas. Santa comes around with slightly smaller toys because Michelle's been losing. Shall I play the $50?
It's up to you, Cass. Play on whatever you like. So, set of sevens against a pair of nines, and he's going to be a little bit wary of that jack. And now he doesn't believe for the jack. In fact, he's right, he hasn't got a jack. He's got 3 sevens instead. Only a 9 will save him, doesn't appear. And surprised at Scotty there, he put a bet out. Del Boy said, I've got better than that. And he didn't want to listen with his 9s. If his 9s was the overpair, then I can understand why he doesn't want to believe him. But
Del Boy only had to have a jack.
Exactly, yeah. He only had to have a jack and he was dead. So I'm surprised that Scotty, he'll get looked up here by Del Boy, though, and unless some strange things happen, he'll be a split pot. Of course, one swinger might decide that he's got enough money invested in this pot to triple up.
Now, what do you think there, Mark? This is a very difficult question, I think, about the issue of pot commitment.
In that situation, I'd probably put it in.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Only because there's still all the players are still left. I can't afford to throw this away. I need really to triple up.
He's made it.
Yeah, has he made it? 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, he has. Yeah. Yeah, he did make it. Only because if it was 5 left, then maybe not. I don't know. But certainly, if I've got a chance to triple up, I might as well take a shot at it. I think. Because I'm going to lose. I've got a small blind coming up as well. That's another 25% of my stack. That worked out okay on that occasion. I remember doing it actually, Cass. I remember a funny situation in Reno last year, where exactly that same situation came up, and I looked down. I was in the small blind or big blind, I think it was at that point, and I had 5-2, and there was 3 or 4 players in the pot, and I was so I had such a small amount left, but I had a chance to quadruple through. Anyway, I thought about it for about a minute and decided to call with a 5-2, and I hit trip fives. So and went on to claim one of the prizes.
Excellent.
So that was quite good. Yeah.
Did you go to Reno this year?
This year I didn't know. No. Which is a shame. I quite like Reno. But have you been to Reno?
No, I never have. I was very bad at travelling in Nevada. I had a girlfriend who took me to the Grand Canyon and Death Valley and Bryce Canyon and Zion National Park, which you should visit if ever you're in Nevada. Potter on through into Utah and visit those beautiful national parks. But I never visited Laughlin or Reno or Lake Tahoe or any of those places,
Yeah.
which is stupid because they're all supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, Reno's an unusual place. It's surrounded by mountains and just got like a dip in between the mountains, this sort of flat piece, and Reno's there. A lot of people said it's like Vegas. I didn't really see the similarity, to be honest.
Well, Vegas is surrounded by mountains. In February, they're all snow-capped. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Maybe from that perspective. In terms of the town itself, though, is nothing like it at all.
Right.
But yeah, and it was cold there as well.
Right.
And this was in, I can't remember what it was, in April or something?
Yeah.
March, April, yeah. So there wasn't a lot to do there, really, like Vegas, where you could just wander around and stuff like that.
At the risk of sounding like a Brit abroad, I did get... it's the first time I've ever lived in a hot climate for a period of time. And I found it very wearing, actually. I found you know, having gone on holidays to Vegas, which I absolutely adored, being there day in, day out, and just the effect of never being cool. I had a room in a budget suites motel, which was fantastic and lovely, and Nick and I used to go and play tennis in the warm evenings. But if there was an air conditioner, which basically had one of two choices. You could have an air conditioner that was working too loudly to allow you to get to sleep, or you could experience Vegas nighttime heat, which is too hot to allow you to get to sleep. Yeah. One of those two things, basically.
That sounds very familiar. That sounds very familiar. On my first trip to Vegas, I did exactly that, staying in one of these travel lodges, and just on the strip. And is that the same thing?
Not what do you call it? The Tam O'Shanter.
No, it was actually. I think it was just called Las Vegas Travel Lodge.
Right.
It's right on the strip. It's next to Circus.
Yes.
That particular one, if you know it.
Yep.
So yeah, same situation really. Very loud air conditioner, or or too hot. One of the two.
Poor old swinger doesn't pull it off a second time, and out he goes.
All right, so into level 3. 2 players gone. Hoofy's in there. He's always there, isn't he, Hoofy?
By level 3? Do you mean, or
no? He's just always there all the time. Seat 3 forever.
He is, yes.
I think he must play every every single table tournament, doesn't he?
Yeah, he must have enormous numbers now to plug into his records, and I'm sure he does keep records. He's probably shared them with us at some point. But Hoofy, if you're out there tonight, then do text or email the show with your latest statistics.
Yep, bang goes another one, down to 5. This is if you just joined us, you're watching a $10 single table tournament. This is where 8 players have sat down with $10 each, creating a prize pool of $80. First prize will be $40. Second prize will be $24, and third prize will be $16. Fourth prize gets nothing, because there is no fourth prize. So they're getting close to that point now where no one wants to really go out in the next 2 places. They all started off with 1,000 chips, and it's their job to accumulate chips and survive at the same time. Bit of a paradox there, isn't it?
It is. It's the quintessential tournament paradox, really.
So, interesting here. 2 pair against the up and down plus over pair. And he's going to be committed on this, isn't he? Oh, he said it as well. So, 5 or 3 required for Hoofy to house up and beat his straight.
I don't understand why players play so fast. I never, as long as I watch this life, I never understand that.
Well, he's called him no 5 or 3. And Hoofy ends up in 5th. So, a bit unfortunate there. He flopped 2 pair. Probably wanted to slow play it a little, but Yeah. JGD, we saw him earlier fold a pair of sevens, so we know he's not playing a wild, aggressive game.
Excuse me. Buffy playing Queen King in the land of the unraised pot. Oh, was it raised? I don't know. There was a raised pot.
Well, kings and eights with a queen takes it. So 4 players.
I was playing with a Geordie celebrity the other day in Newcastle, who I can't name because I don't have his permission, but he was quoting James, King Queen rules in the land of the unraised pot. And I was trying to figure out whether it was a well-known phrase which James had just appropriated or whether it was James's phrase. And I think it was James's phrase, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah. Yeah, someone else has mentioned this to me recently. I'm trying to think who it was about this phrase.
Well, Geordie celebrity, and he was quoting it liberally. So, James, you are having an effect back in your homeland, which is more than Jesus, of course. He was rejected when he went back home.
Hayes says hi, takes it down. A little walk in the park there. And another little walk in the park, this time for Dell. Don't forget our new number, which is 84222. You'll need to text the word poker though before you text it. If you want to get in touch with us, text the word poker to 84222. Put in your message, sign it at the bottom, and we'll read it out live on air. Well, Ace Queen likes it. And, don't blame him. It's probably the right thing to do in those circumstances. Pot's starting to build now. Should probably do the same here. Similar sort of figure. doesn't like it quite so much. At least with the Ace Queen, he's thinking, I've got 2 overcards here. He thinks, if I see overcards, I don't know what to do. It's not going to get called, so. Oh, he's got it again. Now, probably the fact that what's Buffy be good doing? He's thrown away a pair of 8s.
Was it? Was it not 8-9?
No, it was a pair of 8s. I'm sure it was.
Genuinely, you're joking aside, my eyesight's a bit bad today. For reasons I can't quite figure out. I'm blurry vision, so.
Yeah, well, maybe it was 8-9. I don't know. But it looked like a pair of 8s to me.
Now, that ace on the board, would you have a little pop at that, Mark? Given
Definitely.
that the big blind can't call without an ace?
Well, I'd have a little. What, from the small blind position,
Small
you mean?
blind, yeah. Because you know I hate betting out from the small blind there, but that's the kind of situation that I would.
I think I probably would, yeah. I think I probably would. It's a pretty non-hitting board for a big blind, isn't it? So, yeah, I think I would.
For me, it's...
Especially with all those chips. I wouldn't do anything too massive. Probably just 320 would do for me. If it calls in, I'll just forget about it.
I just think the ace adds a dynamic that you really... Even if you had a 10, you wouldn't be calling without an ace.
It would be difficult.
You've got no... You can't have overcards to it. And you just sort of feel, well, if he's betting out and there's an ace on board...
Yeah, it was a case of first to bet, and it was an obvious situation to really gain a few extra chips, wasn't it? I think in that. Well, there's going to be trouble here for Del Boy. Buffy, he's not going to fold. He folded a pair of 8s a minute ago. He's not going to do it again. He hasn't. Ugh. Yeah, he's saying, you see, Mark, that's why I folded my pair of 8s, so that wouldn't happen. Well, you're very unfortunate, Buffy. But you're still in there, and maybe if you hadn't folded your pair of 8s, you would have had a few more chips now. That's the thing, isn't it?
You're being very harsh on him, Mark.
Well, you're on the button, and you've got the small blind and big blind. You don't fold a pair of 8s, I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't.
No.
But are we sure
I
he
said that
did?
Nick did.
Did he?
And the presenter tournament that time, with me and James still in. He had a big chip lead on us, and he folded a pair of 7s on the button.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone was
No, but
saying,
that was three-handed.
Yeah.
This is four-handed.
True. That's even more reason not to to play him.
No, see, I disagree with that.
You think he should have folded 7s?
Well, I'm not saying he should have folded 7s, but I will play incredibly aggressively four-handed, and I will three-handed allow other people the opportunity to bust each other out much more readily, definitely. But four-handed, no. Four-handed is the time in these tournaments for me when you should harvest chips. We should certainly be applying the pressure all the time. If you folded a pair of eights, there's no doubt about it. It was a mistake for me. On the button. I mean, I'm the first to concede that I think I get like this from the small blind. I just don't like the small blind. I've just had bad emotional experiences there. But the point about that is that I therefore feel that I play badly from it. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair enough.
Feel that I put myself in situations where others can dominate me, and that may be my fault, and that may be my problem.
It might be self-made, in effect.
But it's still the problem.
But the point is, if it's self-made, that's fine, because you've corrected. Well, I say you've corrected it. You corrected by not playing it, so that's an okay thing to do as well.
I mean, Tom and I had a big discussion about this one night, where the question was.
We'll just see what happens here, Cass.
Yeah, sure.
We've got just a pair of sevens against ace king. Let's see. He didn't want to call before with the 8, so I'll be very surprised if he decides to call this. In fact, I'll be astonished. Yes, he's called. I don't understand.
I don't think he had 8s in it. I honestly think it was 8-9.
Well, he's happy now as long as a spade doesn't arrive. Oof, his house is up instead. That's okay. In fact, he couldn't have hit the queen of spades either there.
And he goes chip leader.
Yeah. Well, maybe I mislooked at it. So, Buffy Be Good, did you fold a pair of 8s there? And if so, why did you do it? Let us know. So you were saying, you spoke to Tom about this situation.
Yeah, what was the situation?
About the small blind.
No. The question was more general. The question was whether it's okay in poker, and therefore in life, to accept and live with our weaknesses, or whether our aim should be to eliminate them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And my feeling is that in an ideal world, you should aim to be perfect. But I think you should be relaxed and have an acceptance that that's not always going to be the case. And in that eventuality.
But this is the one area, though. This is a little bit grey, isn't it? Because if you were convinced, for argument's sake, if you were convinced that playing the small blind was a winning proposition, then I dare say you would correct that on your own anyway. The problem here is that you're not totally convinced that it's...
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But I am also being big enough to concede that I think that I'm too wary of the situation for various reasons due to personal experiences that I've had.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that as a result of that wariness, poker's about momentum, and about the way that you feel. And I'm saying as a result of that wariness, I don't feel good and I don't feel that I have momentum.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, there you have it. So hopefully that will be interesting. Now, we've left that tournament. I wouldn't worry too much if you're thinking, well, where's it gone? We'll see it very, very shortly. However, I think we've got an email here. Let's have a look if we've got time for an email. We have indeed. Okay, this one is from Nelly. And Nelly is saying, "Hi there, I've been playing poker for about 18 months online. Overall, I've made a loss, sad face. But in the last 2 months, the tables have turned as my game has vastly improved. Purely to your programmer, may I say. What I wanted to know is, do you have any advice for the first time in a proper live tournament? The buy-in is a £5 and has rebuys for the first 90 minutes. This sounds like Luton. Thank you and good luck in Beat the Presenter." Loads of laughs.
I am now signed in for a $50 game.
Okay. What is the advice you can give? We've got too much time to wrap up.
No, okay, right. Sound like a broken record. Let's pick it up after the break then. But very quickly, mine is take your time. Very quickly, mine is just stop and take time for everything that you do.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to leave on that note because I'll give you my input and Cass will no doubt expand upon that after this little break that we've got coming up. However, before we do that, I think we have a mystery caller. Let's go and see who might it be. And we've got Paul Chung from Inside Edge magazine, I believe, on the line. Are you there, Paul?
Yes, mate. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Paul. How are you? It's just it's not everyone tonight. It's just me.
Oh, good evening, mate.
I am everyone, as they say.
Okay, cool.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Very good. I'm just in a restaurant at the moment.
First time that we've spoken. It sounds very noisy there. What are you up to? You sound like you're in the middle of a game.
No. I'm just in a restaurant with some friends at the moment. I'm just taking a night off from poker at the moment. We've been playing every day, so.
A night off from poker? I don't think that exists, does it? It's not allowed. Get back to work. So tell me a little bit about your magazine. I know there's a lot of magazines out now, but we'll just talk about yours for the moment.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the magazine and how it came about, that sort of thing.
Well, it's about 2 years old now. Actually, we celebrated our second birthday yesterday. It started off as there was never anything. We were the first on the market. There wasn't really a sports betting and poker magazine out there.
Uh-huh.
And that's what Inside Edge basically is. It covers sports betting and poker. And the poker is kind of, intermediate, kind of advanced level tips. That's what we're trying to aim for. There's quite a lot of magazines in the market. They kind of aim at entry level beginners, but we try to aim for a bit higher.
Right. So you're basically saying it's about 2 years old, and you were the first one out there. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
What? Tell me something about. So you mentioned that you're catering for the intermediate player. How do you do that?
Well, we just get when we talk to pros in interviews and stuff, we ask them how to play specific hands, or really more technical stuff than just like how being aggressive, or more general stuff that you might find in a beginner's magazine. So like how to play ace king in like late condition or something like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Now, there is a lot of competition out there, isn't there? There's all of a sudden, I mean, just looking at the shelves, there are like, 7 or 8 different poker-related magazines.
Yeah.
Do you think there's room for everyone?
Yeah, I think so, because, if you look at classic cases like men's magazines, there's dozens of men's magazines, and they all kind of find their own niche, because they all have a slightly different tone, or they talk about slightly different things. I mean, they've got common themes. But, if they can happily exist together, then there's no reason why poker magazines can't. Uh-huh.
Well, it's quite interesting, the fact that you've got, like, another magazine. But, of course, you don't just do poker, do you? You cover, all the gambling elements, don't you?
That's right. We do football, gambling, tennis, all the sports, really. Everything that's going on, we try and give tips on.
What would you say is the most out of the magazine? What is the best section in terms of what is the section that sort of most viewers would read?
Most viewers?
Well, not viewers, but most people that pick up the magazine. Are they good at getting it for the football? Are they getting it for the poker or other stuff?
Yeah, football's very, very popular, as you would expect, especially with the World Cup coming up now. But there's some people who literally get it just for the poker. They flick straight to the poker section, because poker is its own little section in the magazine. So they'll flick straight to the back sometimes. Well, that's what some of the readers I've talked to. That's what they do sometimes. So.
Right. And how when you say back to the at the back section, what sort of part of the magazine is that? What does it comprise? 20%, 10%?
I'd say about it's about 70% sports, 30% poker at the moment.
Right. So a fair section.
Yeah, no, it's substantial. I mean, it's grown since it was very small at the beginning, but it's grown in size, and it's basically the poker section is the section I look after. So, so I'm quite proud of it in a way.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it's certainly an area that's been growing quite substantially, isn't it, over the last year or two, which is why we've got all these other magazines coming on board as well.
Yeah, indeed. But we're lucky because some of the competitors out there are actually our kind of sister titles, so we're not really in direct competition with them.
Right, because they're just poker related?
Yeah, like Poker Player, they literally sit yards from us. They're part of the same kind of publishing house, so we try and help each other out, really.
Right, okay. All right, well, I'm going to have to round it up there, Paul, but if you don't go too far away, because in about an hour's time we're going to be coming back to you, if that's okay.
No problem, mate.
All right, well, that was... thanks very much, Paul.
All right, cheers.
Yeah. Well, that was Paul Chung from Inside Edge magazine, so quite a nice bit of information there. However, it's about time we're going to take a break now, so don't go too far away, because we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show with myself, Mark, Prince Charles Banin, and Caspar Berry, although we won't be seeing too much of Cass as he gets busy playing in the Beat the Presenter tournament, so we'll leave him to that. So in the meantime, let me give you some ways of contacting the show. There are various different ways. Let me give you the way they are. First one is by texting the word poker to our new text number, which is 84222. Don't forget to put your word poker in there first, put the rest of your message in, put your name at the bottom, and me and Cass will read it out and give you some of our thoughts on it. There's another way as well. You can email the show, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And if you get a chance, have a look at our website. We've got a fabulous website, www.pokernightlive.co.uk. Fabulous forum on there where sometimes we get the presenters on there answering some questions and stuff like that. Anyway, how's it going so far?
It's going good. Can I say a word on that email that we got before the break?
Yeah.
Which is live tournaments. I tell you what I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time that we played on these Beat the Presenters?
Uh-huh.
For me, that was a real throwback to like the first few games of poker that I had.
Uh-huh.
And the way that I would characterise playing all poker, but particularly live poker, is it's about the ability to process as much information as possible. Mm-hmm. Because people watch this show and they read a few books and they really know the information they need to be processing, and they have a very good handle in most cases about how they should be processing it.
Yeah.
But what happens in poker is that the blood starts boiling and it all happens very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's about being able to process that information. The more relaxed you are and the more laid back and the more experienced they are, the more you can access all that information to the point where you get to what athletes call being in the zone.
Yeah.
Where it's like it just all comes to you.
Uh-huh.
So I would say that's essentially what you're trying to do in a live tournament, is get into a place where you can process that much information. And the point is, it won't happen immediately. Mm-hmm. So I would say, for the first couple of times, and I've said this before when we talk about a guy called Timothy Galway and the way that he used to coach people to play tennis.
Right.
Don't focus on trying to win. Because if you focus on trying to win, what you're doing is you're making yourself stressed, you're increasing the volume of the little voice inside your head which is shouting at you, and you're not doing what you need to do, which is to, as quickly as possible, become relaxed at the poker table so that you can deal with all that information. So I would say, keep on paying your fivers and just relax and enjoy it. And say, I'm going to bust out in about an hour. But great, but I'm going to have had an hour's play. And look at the people and don't worry about it and ask people what you need to do and just get into a place where you associate being there with being relaxed.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Uh-huh.
I've just come back from Prague and we played a few games in Prague. And we were just really drunk and we were having a good time. You know what? I was playing great poker because I was enjoying it. I think that counted for a lot.
It does, yeah. Very, very important. I mean, I would agree with practically everything that Cass said, apart from one thing, and that is don't look to get bust out in an hour or so. That's the only thing. I would target to actually trying to make the final table. If you're going to have any kind of target, don't think about winning it, but certainly have a little target in there, just so you know which direction you're heading in. And when you're making your decisions, base it on the fact of what do I need to do to get to the final table. So that's just one thing. The thing I'd say, you're playing in a rebuy tournament. I've played these rebuy tournaments before, obviously. First thing you want to do is you want to set yourself a budget. So make sure you've got the right sort of budget. It's a £5 rebuy, I understand. You've got 90 minutes, so a long time. You don't get a lot of chips if it's anything like Luton. You're going to end up going to a lot of situations where you're going to have to put in a lot of all your fivers worth in there, in a lot of times under unfavourable conditions. So just watch out, don't go too mad, and try and pace yourself. Next thing I would do is, it is a live tournament, so it's your first one. So the main thing you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever you do, you announce first. So before you make any sort of hand actions, i.e. putting in certain chips and what have you, ask a question if you're not sure what to do. Plus, make sure the hand action sort of comes secondary to the verbal action. So, in other words, if you want to raise it to 350, say, I want to raise to 350. I want to make it 350 to play. Okay, rather than say throw some chips in and then say I want to raise 350. That's not enough, let's put some more in, because they won't allow you to do that. Okay, so make sure you verbalise it first and then the action follows it afterwards. And just try and take your time. I think the most important thing is take your time on decision making. Make sure you think about what you want to do and what you want to achieve in the hand. Try and put people on cards if you can. And remember, there's two ways of winning in poker. One is by being the better, and the second is actually by having the best hand. So don't be too much of a caller. So I hope that helps a little bit. Let us know how you get on. Be lovely to hear, and be interesting to hear what casino you're playing in as well, or what tournament you're playing in. So let us know about that too. So thanks very much for that, Nelly. Back to I think the game we were watching now, which is the sit and go. So let's head over there. Okay, so we left it where there's 4 players left, so perfect timing, boys, well done. We've got Harry says hi, gets a little walk there with his ace-8, which Pair of fours for Del Boy. Oh, he's walked into a monster, but he might still be able to get away with it. No, he can't, because fortunately Buffy, because only got 200 more, he's going to have to call for that. Oh, he can draw to a 3 as well. Well, in fact, a 3 as well. Only a 3 now will do for him. And it doesn't arrive. In fact, Buffy houses up. Ace is full of 2s, beats 4s and 2s, which is what Del Boy had. But luckily for Del Boy, it was one of the shorter stack players. So there you go. And there's a cheeky little monkey there, red actor. So King Queen for JGD. Got the king, the nut flush draw to boot now, as well as second pair. And Del Boy's all in, and didn't arrive. Del Boy, unfortunately, is our third place, fourth place finisher. So no money for him. Three players left now, so they're all in the money. And the great thing about it for them is that they will get some nice prizes to take home. $16 goes to first. This is a $10 entry. Goes to third, rather. Second gets 24, and first gets the chunky amount of $40. What size are you playing in, Cass?
50 sit and go.
Wow. Some real big prizes there, then. Very nice indeed. Ace 9 of spades for JGD. We've seen him play quite passively up to now, so it'll be interesting to see whether he likes to call with this or what's he going to do. He's out of position, but he has got a good hand. He just decides to call, and I think this is going to be the end of the hand, because Hay says hi, will no doubt bet this out, and JGD will have to fold, even though he's got the best hand. Just shows you, don't have to have the best hand, but he has got that position. Hay says hi, and he's seen weakness from JGD, plus he's got an up and down straight draw, so the two things combined makes his hand strong and means that he can feel that he can bet away at it. Still three-handed. Fairly even amongst the two-chip leaders there, but Buffy Be Good is sitting and waiting. And that's a nice little pickup from JGD. Look at that. He just picked up nearly 1,000 there just in one hit. Now, if he does this once or twice more, the others aren't going to know what hit them. But Buffy Be Good is almost pot committed here. Ace Side's got a nice hand. He thinks that his King 10 is probably good, best. Buffy is thinking, shall I gamble now with a 9-4 or wait one more hand? He decides, okay, let's gamble. And it is a gamble if you're playing 9-4. And, well, it just shows you, King or 10 for Ace High will win it. And a 10 appears. Well, Buffy thought he might have just clinched it there at the end, but he was a bit of an underdog. 7-4 to win that. 4 times out of 7, Hay says High will win. 3 times out of 7, Buffy would have won that. So not a huge favourite, but enough to win that one. So Ace King against King 7. Hay says High is not going to put this down. It's all in. Ace is winning at the moment. Only a 7 will win it for JGD. And it doesn't appear. So Ace High wins. 8s and queens with an ace. Okay, so I think it's time we head over to our multi-table tournament to see how these boys are playing out. We saw it earlier and it looked quite interesting, so let's head back there. So we've got 62 runners left at the moment on this one. And 8 tables they're playing over. So still getting nearer and nearer to that final element. They started with 104 players. So the fact is quite interesting. The fact that they all started with 2,000 chips. We've seen the dropout to be much, much slower than it normally is. Normally they're down to probably around 45, 50 by now, but the fact they've started 2,000 chips shows that the dropout's lower. And the lovely thing about it is the fact that they can actually play a lot of poker here. A great tournament to play in for the simple reason that they're getting a chance to play a lot of poker and they're not really chip committed at any point, unless obviously they've lost a lot of chips. But anyone who's average in a lot of these tournaments, even if you're average stacked, you're under pressure. Here, average stack will be well ahead of the game. So pretty good going by this site to put on a great tournament. And to finish it all off, if the structure wasn't good enough, they've actually added $2,000 into the prize fund. So great prize pool here. The prize pool normally would only be a little over $1,000, but here it's now $3,000. So they've tripled the prize money. That really is unbelievable. That's a fantastic thing. You don't get that very often in poker, I can tell you. So well worth the entry fee. $912 goes to first, $600 to second, and this is all for an entry fee of $10. Incredible. And 10th will get $45. So pretty good stuff there. So far, so good. And just having a look there, look at that. AC666 has got, what is that? That works out to 60 times a big blind, I believe it works out to. So that's pretty good. And he's got an up and down straight draw, has AC, and Steve has absolutely nothing. And he's going to bet that. And that's a good bet, I like that. He's not going to wait for him to hit, I won't say it's a miracle, but he's aiming for a 4-to-1 shot with one card to come. A bit worse than that, but we'll call it 4-to-1 for this stage. So, doesn't want to wait to hit a 1 in 5 shot. 4-to-1 is equivalent to 4-to-1. Sorry, 4-to-1 is equivalent to 1 in 5, so... For those of you new to working out odds, that's how you work it out. You just nick one off the end. Simple. Well, 3 hearts on the board, don't change anything. King Queen wins by virtue of the kicker. Well, AC liking his ace-10. Makes it up to 300, and he's probably only going to get called by the big blind here. I want to have a look at his King Jack suited, I think, for 150 more, and he does. And a little bet there, You see, the thing I'd say by Addy Babes is that if he's going to bet, he might as well bet something decent. You know, he's put weak bets out there, and he's probably going to get called all the way. He's now getting value to call. He's getting 10-to-1, practically. Oh, he's thrown it away on the end, gosh. Okay, we'll just see one more hand and we'll head over to the table holding the big stack. We've got Ace King here for Portman Road. Portman Road, Ipswich Town supporter, I dare say. You're a football man, Cass?
I used to support Ipswich because I lived in Essex.
Oh, right, okay. I've been to Portman Road once.
It's in the Bobby Robson days. Paul Mariner.
That's right. Yeah.
That's all I know.
We got beat there as well. I think Brazil, actually, who later came to Spurs, actually scored the goals. But, okay, in fact, just look at this one last hand here. Penelope's making a move with ace-9, and I don't know why he's so desperate to grab 225. I don't like the play, Penelope's. If you keep doing that, you're not going to win this tournament, that's for sure. You won't get to the final table, Penelope's. I can tell you that for nothing. You keep doing that. You know, there is really no reason to put all your chips at risk with ace-9 just to win 225. You're not that desperate. So we can move over to our big stack, and it's none other than Jumbawamba, who's looking pretty good. A little more than, in fact, a lot more, no, a reasonable amount more than AC. AC, I think, had about 9,000. This guy's got nearly 11. So he's looking extremely, extremely good at the moment. He's got, about 70 times the big blind. So that's a huge position to be in. Usually, if you can maintain a stack of anything over 25, then you're doing well. And he's done more than that. He's 75 times. So he's looking pretty good. Blinds have just gone up. They're now 100, 200. So looking pretty good so far for these boys. Lots of play. Well, look at this. Aces against jacks. That's very unfortunate for Jumbawamba, but that's the point. He's got the chips. He can afford it. Well, I'm sure he would have preferred to have won that one, but that's the great thing about it. When you have a lot of chips, you can take hits like that, and you're still not adversely affected. He's still got, well, the blinds have gone up now, so that would have meant that he had 50 times the big blind, so now he's got 40 times the big blind, so not tremendous damage done. Pair of threes for Steve. Second to act, worried about the queen, and he's going to take it down. Steve won't call this, I don't think. Weak enough, he might call it. He might look at it as a last position still, but he thought, well, I've only got a pair of threes. Yeah, he would have had to have raised there, Steve, and I don't blame you for not wanting to do that. Well, another very excitable bet there from Mr. Poker Ice, and he's fortunate that Jumper hasn't got much. Okay, I think it's time we take a break from this multi-table. We'll just see this last hand, and then I think we'll head over to cash game. So 10 jack, nothing doing there. And I don't blame him there. He's got no real draw. He did have a 3-card straight, but not the better end of the 3-card straight, so he doesn't mind leaving that. So let me tell you how you can contact the show. All you need to do, if you've got a mobile phone, 84222 is the number you need to dial. Text the word poker, followed by your message, followed by your name, and myself and Cass will be only too happy to answer all and every one of your questions. Alternatively, you can email the show, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. There it is on your screen. And worth having a look at our forum on our website when you get a chance, www.pokernightlive.co.uk. Let me remind you viewers out there that we're going to be watching on Poker Night Live a very exciting tournament. It's the first satellite, if you will, for the Poker Bowl. So that's going to be on this Sunday. So worth tuning in to watch that, but it's going to be very exciting and lots of interesting play I'm sure we're going to have over that for that Poker Bowl finale that it's going to culminate in. So worth watching. So, flush for Robo Squirrel. He likes that. Only a pair of aces there for Craven, but that's actually helped Craven because now he's actually got 2 pair and he doesn't have to worry about his kicker anymore. Aces and 4s with a king. That's now nullified the kicker. Unless, of course, Robo had ace-king, but of course he had much better than that. He actually had the flush. So if you've just joined us, we're watching a 50-cent $1 cash game. This has a buy-in of $100 maximum, minimum buy-in of $10. And as you can see, there's a lot of money on this table. We've already got Cravin, who's more than doubled his starting stack. Ghost Zapper has almost tripled his starting stack. Monty has doubled. So it looks like we've had a few late-night bingers here, perhaps. Gone to the pub, come home, and decided to depart with some of their hard-earned. So plenty of money on this table, much bigger than what we'd normally see on a 50-cent $1 table. So watching a cash game. Now, the difference between, people often ask, what is the difference between a cash game and a tournament? Well, pretty straightforward, really. One main difference is that in a tournament, you have to factor in a survival element into your game, because it is a knockout tournament, whereas a cash game gets treated like a bit like a user analogy to football, in as much that in football, if you're playing in football and you're playing in the Premier League, cash games are like the Premier League. They're like a league in effect, where you keep continuous stats, whereas in tournaments, whilst it has a little bit of that in it, there is a survival element too. So it's a bit like the FA Cup in effect. So once you're knocked out, you're out. There's no sitting back down again, whereas in a cash game, you can just reload. Well, no one's hit this. Who's going to bet first? I'm surprised Monty didn't have a little go at it. He thinks, well, you two want to check a 4-7-7 board. That looks like a board that I've got a 3-card straight. I've either got backdoor potential too. So let's have a little bet. And he didn't, which is a little bit surprising. I would have thought he would now. And now Craven said he could have done this with anything. In fact, Craven, he doesn't need to wait for that king to appear. He could have actually done it with absolutely anything. Of course, smooth cut is now either slow playing sevens or he was on a draw. Craven can just afford to check and call, and that would probably be the best bet here, just in case he has got a 7. Don't like the bet really, just in case. He's only going to get called generally with a better hand. A king that's been, with a better kicker. Of course, we can see that there was a 6 on the board, but that wouldn't have changed anything in Craven's hand. So I would have liked a check and a call. Give the guy a chance to bluff. Maybe he will bluff at it, and you'll actually get a few more chips in there. Ghost Upper just limping in from small blind. I quite like this actually play, bit of variety to the game. The guy won't put him on an ace, which means he might get paid off. So I quite like that little bit of sneaky play. Oh, look at that! He doesn't hit his ace, but he's hit something even better, which is trip 2s. And I say it's even better because it's much more hidden. And unfortunately, the other guys hit absolutely nothing apart from an up and down straight draw, which isn't going to help him now. And Ghost Upper takes it down. So sort of a semblance of poor hands here, although Scott Boy, having said that, I've just noticed the king's at the bottom there, and Scott Boy's got got a hand as well. He's got a couple of 10s in the hole. So we could see a bit of money change hands here. Be interesting to see what happens, because Scott Boy hasn't got that many chips behind him compared to Benny Pump. So let's see what Benny Pump might think. Well, I might need smooth cut in this so I can get some chips off him. Let's see what he does. No, he doesn't want to play it 3-way, and I don't really blame him. Oh, look at that. This is definitely where the money goes in here. Overpair to overpair, but one of the overpairs is an up and down straight draw. He's not going to throw it down. So it's just a case of him re-raising, no doubt. He's got overpair, up and down straight draw. There it all goes. Benny Pump's going to call, and he still needs to hit a jack or a 6, or a 10, of course. Nothing appears, so Benny Pump, with the best hand, takes out Scott Boy. And not a lot you could do there, Scott Boy. Just a bit unlucky. That was a pretty good flop for you. Yeah, don't think there's a lot Scott Boy could have done in that situation. I think the re-raise was about the right thing to do. He had a very strong hand, up and down, and a pair. He had lots of outs. Unfortunately, in the end, just wasn't enough. So King 8 versus pair of 6s. I'm sure he won't be getting involved here. Don't know why he's limping in there anyway, but I suppose he was hoping that he'd grab position from Benny Pump, but Benny Pump actually had a hand, so that's fair enough. He wanted to see if he could just use his position to nick a pot, and I don't mind that play. Well, Assiduous might check here. He knows that he must have been playing with Ghost Zapper to no, that's a shame. That's a shame he's done that, because I'm positive Ghost Zapper would have had a go at that board. And I'm surprised because Assiduous has been sitting there longer than I have, and I know that Ghost Sapper would have had a go at that board, and Assiduous should have really picked up on that, I think. They might think, well, Mark, he might not have done, but there's a good chance that he would. And, then you can check raise, so you get a few more bucks out of it. And that's the thing with cash games, it's not about just winning the hands, it's about maximising the wins that you do get. And I think that was a missed opportunity on that one. So Ace King against a pair of threes, against a couple of diamond cards there. No one's hitting, although Monty's now hit, not what he originally wanted, but he's now hit the up and down straight draw. He's looking for a king or an 8 to appear, although we can see a couple of those kings have gone, and that doesn't help him. But he likes that, so he'll probably put in a value bet here, hoping that he's got a jack in his hand. Yeah, he does. A bit high for a value bet. I think a value bet of 4 would have been the right amount. But it wouldn't make any difference because he couldn't call him. So whether it was 4 or 6 made no difference in that case. So far so good. Looking pretty interesting, this table. Lots of play to be had with all this money on the table, so that's good. So a pair of 10s for Ghost Zapper. And, well, he's been check raised by, he's been re-raised by Assiduous with nothing. And, difficult one for Ghost Zapper here. Probably the best thing is just to lay it down and forget about it, just in case. But he's taking a view, which is the right view, I think, but it's more dangerous to say, well, you know what? I don't think you've got a king. I don't think if you had a king, you'd probably just flat call me. So, let's see if you can take this. And Assiduous says, no, thank you. So I don't blame him. But he was right to think that he's got a good chance of his ace-jack winning there, so I don't blame him for the original re-raise. Don't think there's anything wrong with that. Very good play there by Ghost Zapper, though. I thought he thought to himself, well, you know what? I can't see you having a king now. I think he would have slow-played it somewhat. But, so no one done anything wrong there. But Ghost Zapper took it that stage further. I thought it was a nice bit of play there by Ghost. Well done. So Ace Queen raising it up. Pair of threes wants to play too. He's decided to call the bet from a small blind. Well, it's a late position. I'm not mad over this call, though. I don't mind it so much. Just have to worry about what Monty's going to do. I say Monty because he was the under the gun limper. In fact, did he limp or raise? I'm not sure. But didn't have to worry about Robo too much. And Benny Pumps now didn't hit his set. Decided, okay, let's get out of here. And I think once he's in with a few people like that, he had some good implied odds, but he does need to hit that 3. And it's come at the end. He would have made his house. So Benny probably would have had a lot of money here out of these boys. They would have been paid him off, but unfortunately it came a bit too late for Benny. So a bit unlucky there, Benny. I don't blame you. You did nothing wrong. Can't call in that situation. Just a bit unlucky. Okay, so don't forget, if you want to contact the show, have myself or Cass analyse your poker play, you can do so. 84222 is a number. Text the word poker, followed by your message, followed by your name, and myself and Caspar will read it out live on air. Of course, you can do that another way too, and that is by emailing the show, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. There it is on your screen. And as I said, worth having a look at our forum, which is on our website, www.pokernightlive.co.uk. And got a great tournament to have on this Sunday. It's going to be a $10 multi-table tournament that leads to a seat on the Poker Bowl. So worth watching that if you're around and about Sunday 10 o'clock. It's going to be featured on Poker Night Live, and it's going to be a great tournament to sit in. Lots of exciting and interesting prizes on offer. So 8-9 deciding to raise it up, and don't mind it so much. Of every now and again add some variety. Oh, look at that, he's hit it square on the face. All he's praying for now, Benny, is he's probably scared him off. He's hit his miracle, now he's prepared to scare him. He's not going to call you for 8-10, Benny. Don't think you have to worry too much about that. You know, he's only likely to call you for a couple of paint cards or a pair. So I think you should take a chance. I think you did it as if you just had a sort of a pair yourself. So I think you scared him off. A shame. You got paid off by making that play, and all you needed now was Scott Boy to hit his hand, but you didn't give him the chance to. You know, and Scott Boy hasn't really been reckless, so you've got to ask yourself, what kind of hand can he call me with? Well, he can only call you with an overpair, so you're basically saying, if you've got an overpair, call me. If you haven't, then don't. And let's face it, most of the time he won't have that, so you'll never get paid from him. So Ghost Zapper, Ace Queen, pair of aces. And he's up against another pair. There's a problem when you call with hands like Ace 10, Ace Jack, Ace 9. Ace 10 is hit, and he's got the sucker end of this pair here. And that doesn't help. Aces and 9s with a queen. The queen will play. And Ghost Sapper is saying, well, he doesn't realise. He's a bit worried about that 9. He's thinking, well, there is a chance that he could have had a 9. And he thought, well, I'll check call this probably. And he didn't have to. And he got paid off. Well, that's the problem. Don't call with Ace 10. If you're playing out there and someone has bet out, you really don't want to be calling with Ace 10. Not a hand to call with. There's only one hand that you're hoping to hit on that board. There's only 3 cards you want to see, and that is King, Queen, Jack. And if that King, Queen, Jack doesn't come, which it won't come very often, then Ace 10 is not going to be much good. We'll take a pop into IMTT a little later. That way we'll see, keep an eye on, make sure what these boys are up to. Although we'll stick with this cash game for a little bit, give these boys a run in. Also, it's a good way to learn, to actually watch some of these cash games, because a lot of the stuff that you see here on the cash games does apply to the tournament game. The only thing you do have to remember that in tournaments, you can't risk your chips with a 52% favourite with one card to come, whereas in a cash game, if you knew that was the odds, that you were a 52% favourite, you would do. Well, flush there for Benny. Is that good enough? It is indeed, because no house for Monty, which means that Benny's going to take this one as long as he remains in the pot, which I'm sure he's not going to be going anywhere. He's a whisker away from having a straight flush, in fact, a raw flush. 2 of clubs there instead of the Jack of clubs. Swap that over, and he's got a straight raw flush. Pair of sevens. For Caspar. Well, he's asking the question here, and that's a big question. Now, if he gets re-raised here, then I think his question has been answered, although he's had a couple of run-ins with Assiduous who's tried to move on him once or twice, so he might feel he's trying to do it again. But let's see what he does. How suspicious is he of an overpair to that board? Don't tell me Assiduous is going to fold. He does, he's going to fold it. Oh, no, he's been disconnected by the looks of it. What's happened here? Yeah, he does. Well, Caspar got away with that one. In fact, yep, he's now sitting out for the moment. Well, King Queen betting. Scott Boyd is on a call with an 8-10, and he's going to take that one down. He was in the big blind. Wants to say, look, you're not going to get my blind by betting out. Pair of sevens against ace-jack. Been raised and called by Monty with the ace-jack. Not mad over the call there, really. Most of the time he's going to miss with an unmade hand. Well, 1 out of 3 times he's going to hit. And this is one of those times that he's missed, or he has got 2 overcards on the board, and Smooth Cut saying, I've got this. Do you have any of it? And he says yes, but he hasn't. So... Smooth Cut's not too sure now, although that's probably strengthened his hand somewhat. He's just wondering whether there's a chance that Monty might have a pair of 8s. That could be the hand he's calling with. He could obviously have a 9, unlikely. Oh, look at that. That's worked out nicely for him. He's got nothing to worry about now. He's got his house, 7's full of 9s, and he's convinced now he's ahead. So let's just, he's just wondering how can he extract the most. Of course, he's hoping that Monty's actually playing a 9, something like ace-9. But of course, we can see he was actually absolutely nothing. So Smooth Cut made a right move, I felt. Just, well, was it a right move? Actually, no, it's probably overboard, because if Monty was playing a 9, he would now be worried about the flush, so he might not pay him. So I think probably the best bet would have been probably around 30 or 40 there, because the fact that that last card was a heart, if Monty was playing a 9, he'd now be scared of it, and he might decide to fold to a big bet like that. So I think Smooth Cut did the right move, just the bet was a bit too big. But having said all of that, he wouldn't have got a penny out of Monty, because Monty hit nothing anyway. But the way it was played out, I think in the long run, he would get something out of it if he played it the other way. And that's the thing to remember about these games. You're only playing into a situation that will get you, that will win you in the long run. You're not actually playing for the results as they are as we speak. You have to ignore the hands that come out and the results that happen. You have to really look at what the right play is for the long term. Well, not really much happening on this particular hand here. I think we'll play watch a couple more hands, and we'll have a dip into our multi-table tournament. Monty has the pair of 10s. He thinks it might be in the lead, and he's dead right. It is in the lead. He's not going to get paid anything by anyone. No one's got anything else. Smooth Cut wondering if there's value in this. Well, he's getting 9 to 1 for his money. I think there's too many players. If there, I don't think it's probably worth having a look with. Not with 4-8 anyway. It's got such little opportunity to make anything. Well, top pair for Assiduous. Thinks it's good. Oh, and Robo's hit that middle pin to make him a straight. 7, 8, 9, 10 jack. And Assiduous is not having a good run at the moment. Can't seem to... His timing seems to be a little bit off. When he's got the best hand, he seems to throw it away. When he's got the worst of it, he seems to pay him off. I think when you feel that that's what's happening to you, it's time just to sit out and leave it for an hour or two. These things do happen from time to time, and your timing is just that little bit askew. And it's time to say, OK, well, let's just leave it for now and move off the table. And I think that's probably what he's probably feeling like at the moment. So that wouldn't be a bad move from you, Assiduous, if you wanted to do that. Look at the cheeky little monkey here with Smooth Cut, re-raising with 4-3. He's thinking that, oh dear, we could have a problem here, but Smooth Cut hasn't got anything, so if Benny Pump checks, which he is, and he's going to check, he's in mind to check raise Smooth Cut, I'm sure. I'm sure he's not going to be a flat caller. I hope he's not going to be a flat caller. That'd be a bad move for Benny Pump to flat call this. This is really a check raising opportunity. He's got a very strong hand indeed. And he does, and that's the right move. Well done, Benny Pump. Good play there. Very good play. And he almost doesn't mind him calling, regardless of what his hand is, because barring the fact that he might have aces, he's well up on the hand. Well, not much for any one of these players. They've all missed their draws. Monty has virtue of king high, and that's going to be enough. Playing the board with his king. So I think we'll just make this the last hand, and then we'll see what emails are about. Got quite a lot of emails building up. Thanks, guys. Keep them coming. Okay, so there we have it. Been watching some tournaments, some multi-table tournaments, and we're going to be seeing Cass in action shortly. So that'll be interesting, no doubt. And he's still typing away there. It looks like you're a sort of a speed typist there, Cass.
Yeah, I can't touch type. I have to look at the keys.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a bit of a dunce, really.
So we'll no doubt have a look at that later on. So in the meantime, time to do one or two emails, and let's take this one from Dan in Essex. Thanks very much for your email, Dan. Dan is asking, I have a question. I'm at present reading, going over and over and over, Sklansky and Malmuth's Hold'em Poker for Advanced Players, and was wondering why this and few other poker books have a picture of a gun on the front cover. What's the history? Is it connected with the game's roots in the old Wild West? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think
right?
it is. Isn't there we were working out something the other day, not just
It's not a symbol for 2 plus 2 or anything, is it?
No, not just passing the buck, but there's some significance of of a gun in poker when it comes to the button. Oh yeah, under the gun.
All right.
The phrase being under the gun must have meant that a gun was used as a button.
Right.
At some point in the early days of poker.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
I mean, it's definitely the case that poker has origins in a dodgy world. There's no doubt about that, is there? So I think they're just being
Still
honest
does,
about
doesn't
its
it?
roots. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, well, I have absolutely no idea, so I'll just let Cass answer that one. So, hope that answers your question. A gun was used in the old Wild West, so hence the term under the gun, hence why they've probably got a picture of a gun on the book. Anyway, you've got one from John Steventon, DJ Recess, as he's known, and he's saying, thanks for your email, by the way, John. Hi guys, great show tonight as always. It's hypnotic viewing. I keep wondering, what is the level change between playing cards and playing people? Okay, I've just been in a tourney where, due to my wife abusing me on the phone, I couldn't pay attention and had to just play the cards. Oddly, I won. This was a $5 plus 50 tourney, one that I'm reasonably successful on, although chances are I'll be playing one if you read this out, and so don't tell everyone I suck. I'm happy here, but what level do I play at when people play more than just pocket pairs and premium cards, etc.? Just so I know not to go that far up in level. Big smiley face. If you get the chance, ask Caspar if he prefers to watch Citizen Kane or Blazing Saddles. You guys...
Can I not watch them both in one night?
Watch them both?
That would be a perfect night's viewing, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, there you are. There's your answer. That's what he prefers. Blazing Saddles and Citizen Kane. There you go.
I think they're both perfect examples of their genres.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Well, Citizen Kane doesn't really have a genre, but they're perfect examples of what they are.
Well, moving swiftly on, we've got a question here that he's asking. Where does it come that people play, that you play people as opposed to cards? When is that the case? Do you ever not play people, Cass? Is there a situation where you don't play people and just play cards?
Limit 10-handed.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, mate. I'm playing in a game. I'm typing, and I'm trying to answer a complicated question. Yeah, I think in No Limit, there's constantly an element of playing people, and I think that one situation when you're not playing people so much as when you're calling. Mm-hmm. Sorry, when you're not playing. Yes, when you're not playing people so much as when you're calling. It's
easier in Limit. Okay. Well, maybe just sort of give you my views on that. I think you're always playing people, especially in No Limit and Pot Limit. Limit is not a strong area of mine, so Cass can best ask that one. But as the game becomes more technical, then you tend to find that cards become more important, as in Limit, where the betting isn't as important as it is in No Limit, because that has a big weight advantage when you've got a lot of chips in No Limit and Pot Limit. So what I would say is that in the games, generally you are playing people. Poker is about a people game. You do play it less, however. Having said all of that, you do play it less a little when you're playing online. But we'll perhaps cover that after this break, which we have to do now. However, we have got a break coming up, but don't go too far away, because before the break, we've got Paul Chung on the line. So let's head over there and see if he's still with us. So see you after this. Hi, we've got Paul Chung back on the line from Inside Edge magazine. Are you there with us, Paul?
Yep. Hello, mate. How you doing? All right?
Yeah, not bad. Hope you've been enjoying your meal.
Thank you very much.
So, we were talking last time about the magazine and lots of different competition that you have there. Now, a lot of the magazines do sort of big-name interviews. Who have you got lined up over the next weeks and months to come?
Well, I'm pretty excited at the moment because next kind of Friday, Saturday, I'm flying out to Vegas and I'm going to get to interview Johnny Chan, who's obviously an absolute legend of the Bays.
Well, that's quite a coup, isn't it? Because as far as I know, Johnny isn't that easy to get hold of in terms of interviewing.
No, I can't. I don't remember I can't recollect a time where I've seen a big interview with him in any magazine. So yeah, we're pretty excited about having got him, but we have been chasing him for quite a few months. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. So how do perceive the? How do you see the interview going? Is it? Are you taking a whole team with you out there?
It'll be me and photographer, and my editor's going to try and come out as well, because he's going to try and get Phil Ivey. Might even try and get them to play a game against each other. But yeah, we're going to try and hit, especially, the kind of big two. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, it should be sort of old versus new. Although Johnny's not that old, is he?
How old is he?
I don't know, but he seems pretty young on the TV anyway.
He's won a hell of a lot of World Series poker bracelets, that's all I know.
Yeah, that's right. So you mentioned Phil Ivey, so are you going to be doing an interview with him as well?
Yeah, I mean, he's another one who's, he's notoriously quite private, with his life. But, he's definitely a character. He loves his golf, he loves his sport, so, he should be good to interview as well. We're going to, try and get him on the cover, so it should be good.
Yeah, well, that should be good. We've got a lot of build-up now coming up with the World Series coming up. Are you going out there for the World Series?
Hopefully, if they send me out, it'll be really good if I could. I mean, as we know, the World Series is getting bigger every year. It'd be great to go out this year.
Yeah. Have you been before, Paul?
No, I haven't actually.
All right, so it'll be quite an experience for you if you've never, especially
definitely.
if you haven't seen the old from the news as such.
Yeah, exactly. But I've only been on the magazine for a year, so that's when I got into poker a year ago. So.
So how long have you been playing, Paul?
Literally a year, just since I started on the magazine. It's been
right, so that was your first input into poker?
Sorry?
That was your first input into poker?
Exactly. I barely even knew it existed a year ago. So.
Right.
So yeah, it's been amazing to see how much it's grown over the past 12 months.
Right, okay. So any other interviews you'd like lined up? I think you've mentioned something about, did you not have an interview with Mike Mattisau?
Oh yeah, that was a bit of an experience. I kind of amazingly stumbled across him in a Soho bar. He was getting ready for a tournament that was happening in Hammersmith, and I had some cards and chips with me, and I kind of challenged him to a heads up, because I thought, this is my chance to say that I've taken on and beaten a World Series of Poker final tableist. And so he readily agreed, and we sat down at our makeshift table, and he started dealing, because he used to deal when he was before he was a poker player.
That's right, yeah, he used to be a dealer, didn't he?
Yeah, but only very small stakes, really. I know he's got a lot more money than me, and first hand I
wouldn't be so sure, Paul.
Well, I know he likes to spend it as well, but I still think he's got a lot more money than me. First hand I was dealt King, Queen of Diamonds, which is quite good, obviously quite a good heads-up hand. And the flop was 10, 7, 7.
Okay.
And I thought, I didn't think he'd hit that. He was kind of checking it for me.
Yeah.
And the turn was 2 of clubs, and I was like, he definitely can't have that. And he raised about a quarter of his stack, and I was like, it's fairly early on, I can call that. And then there were already 2 diamonds out, and the river was the 5 of diamonds, so I made a flush.
All right.
And so I moved all in, and he's like, what have you got there? And he's
I'm just going to have to cut you off on that one, Paul. We're going to have to leave our viewers on edge with that one.
Okay.
So I'm going to come back to you in about an hour or so, Paul. So perhaps you can finish off the rest of the story then with us.
No problem, mate.
All right. That was Paul Chung from Inside Edge magazine. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Poker Night Live with myself, Mark, Prince Charles Banin, and the legendary Caspar Berry, who's a real legend you are these days.
You still say that, but I'm going to go all red.
Huh?
I'm going to go red.
No, I don't think so. So we've got some interesting stuff. We've got an email to tell you about. But before I do that, let me tell you how you can get in contact with the show. The way you can get in contact with the show is via our... There it is on your screen. Just waiting for it to come up. Poker. Text the word poker to 84222. There it is on your screen there. And put your question in. As well as that, put your name at the bottom, and myself and Cass will be only too pleased to answer it. As well as that, you can email the show, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And we always love to hear from you, so make sure you get in contact with us. Any poker-related questions or anything at all, really. So we've got an email from Dave in Edinburgh, who's better known as Hoik Bulls. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's saying, "Hi there, Mark and Caspar. Hoik Balls here. I sent this email in last night just before the programme had a few connection problems. Nick was kind enough to give an excellent summary of a beginner's guide to poker the other night, and I just can't get enough of the poker magic that flows from his brain. I wonder if you can maybe help me take matters to the next stage." Is there a stage beyond Nick? There isn't, is there? I think that's really the top, isn't it? Yeah.
Zenith.
Yeah, I think you're right up there. Okay. Let's see. Nick advised spending some time studying the art of poker and reading 1 or 2 high-quality books on the subject. I presume you haven't written a great book yet, Mark Os Caspar, in brackets. So could you maybe go over the merits of some of the main texts out there? I know some of them are quite technical, and a quick summary would be great. So you're more of a bookman than I am. Much more of a bookman than I am.
We do this email all the time, don't we? I'm scared of boring the poor people who've listened to this 50 times. What should we say? We all think that Theory of Poker is a great book, and not confined to limit like some of the Sklansky Malmouth texts. It's very theoretical, but it's worth a read. I think by general consensus, the Dan Harrington books are 2 of the best books you can read about tournaments. What's the No Limit and Pot Limit Poker by Kifone, Bob Kifone?
Right.
Are good text on No Limit and Pot Limit, and I also think that bizarrely, Sklansky's Tournaments for Advanced Players is a good tournament, is a good No Limit manual as well, because by talking about tournaments, he actually touches on a lot of No Limit concepts. Nick's just bought me a book as a present recently called Aces, Kings and Queens, which contains the secrets of some of the great players. I imagine that's kind of an add-on book to your basic poker reading, but it's a book I'm very much looking forward to. And a book that I would advise for the mindset is Zen and the Art of Poker. And you might dismiss that as, I want to get down to the cards, but as you watch this show and as you play more poker, you'll realise that the mindset is so important. And Zen and the Art of Poker is excellent for that, although I understand that... I'm forgetting everyone's names today. The professor, what's his name? The professor of poker.
The Professor of Poker?
Yeah, he's.
Anyway,
he recommends Zen and the Art of Archery.
And he dukes
for the same
brother.
Yes, yeah. So there's a few. We've also talked about Daniel Negreanu's blog for sort of experiential updates, and of course, there's a wealth of information out there on our own forums, which I really, really strongly recommend. The 2+2 forums. And the regular publications, Card Player, Inside Edge, Poker Player Magazine, etc., etc.
Now, but the converse to that, there's my brother's also telling me about he's reading this good book and that good book, and he says you should read it. And I'm always telling him, look, I think you need a bit more experience and less reading. This is the way I stipulate things. Last week, or about 2 weeks ago, he says to me, he goes, I was reading a blog somewhere about Patrick Antonius. And apparently he said to me he's never read a book in his life, and because he feels that you can't get the information out of books and you have to work it out yourself. And he goes, you know what, I think maybe you're right, Mark, maybe I won't read any more books now. And yet for the last 2 years, or sort of 18 months, he's always telling me, read this, read that, read this. And one person says, doesn't listen to his own brother, but some stranger that he's never met he'll listen to. There you go.
Does he play a lot, your brother?
Yeah, he plays a fair amount, yeah. Probably plays more than me at the moment, yeah. Okay. So he plays a fair amount. He's made a good couple of showings. So yeah, cool. So there you are. So there you are, experience as well. What we can also say is that, what Hoik also goes on to say is that, and quickly, could you tell me if I need to alter my game where there are buy-ins, I presume he means rebuys, compared to freeze-out tournaments? I ask this because PokerZone are starting a freeze-out multi-table tournament on Sunday night, where the winner goes to a final table in the PokerZone, hosted by Michelle, I believe. I'd love to get my ugly face on TV. Okay.
Rather than hers.
Well, I think that's what he means. Yeah, although Michelle's not really an ugly face, though, Cass.
Don't know. Depends how you look at it.
Yeah, maybe.
She's what I call a six-pointer.
I won't even ask you what that means. What?
I'm dead.
Yeah, you are dead. I hope you're not watching, Michelle. If he does, I apologise to Cass on his behalf.
Oh, dear.
So, what do you think?
Well, if it's a freeze-out, you've got to protect your stack a lot more readily. I would say... I can't go into much more detail than that, really. My brain's not working today, Mark. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Should we get to the game?
Let me answer that, yeah. Well, the best way I see, rebuys are very different to resales for obvious reasons. For the simple reason that people can keep dipping in. You know, it's a bit like a cash game. They can keep dipping in. And you'll find that you very quickly have to find out what kind of players you've got on your table. And the reason I say this is because some players will be just totally manic. They're thinking to themselves, it's $10, I don't mind. I'm going to prepare to throw $200 at this. And they will, you know. So it means they're going to be doing up to 20 rebuys. And if you get 2 or 3 players like that, you have to change your game dramatically. So it's really about trying to notice who's prepared to buy in a lot and who isn't. Once you've ascertained that, and you can usually do that within the first 15, 20 minutes, then you can play your game accordingly. If you've got manic players, guess what? You just need to loosen up very slightly and milk them for all their rebuys that they're going to do on your behalf. If obviously, by the same token, they're very tight, guess what you have to do? You have to loosen up once again a bit more perhaps, and that way you can take the advantage of the fact that they don't want to rebuy. But whichever way you look at it, you've got to know on what the players are doing in order for you to maximise how you deal with that rebuy period, and that would be my advice for that. So good luck with that, Hoik, and hope you do well and get that first spot. On to Beat the Presenter, I believe.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So this is the $50 to start off with. I played 2. We may have time for them both. Played a 50 and a 20. And that's more of a test card, really. But that is the game.
Well, so you're starting here, very nice situation. You're starting here with 1,200 chips, which means we are playing a $50. Excellent. So which means that prizes are, if you're wondering what the prize pool is, $400, obviously, 8 times 50. 200 for
and
first.
And just to stop you, Mark, there just a second. So he raises up, and a Queen King, I'm happy to call for just a call, but I really don't want to call a raise with Queen King.
Okay.
Certainly not from Making Jam. I know he's in the cut-off. Sorry, he's actually won before the cut-off. So could be a late position steal, but still, and I'm right, I'm a dominated king there. Anyway,
yeah, and plus you don't know what Fishing for Chips is going to do as well.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, you could be limping with a big hand. So,
yeah.
Prizes are as follows. There are 3 prizes as per usual. We've got 200 for first, 120 for second, 80 for third. So be interesting to see how this one pans out. And they both hit top pair, and this could be trouble for Fishing for Chips. Oh, he's not going to throw it away for that. He's hit what he wanted. He's asked him the question, but let's see how Making Jam plays this. He's probably just going to call, I think. Yeah, he's got position on him. He can just afford to call it down. There's no real draws out there, is there, Cass? So
no.
The problem occurred limping in the first, at first, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Mark.
Yeah.
I'll make some good decision plays here, but I'm not focused on winning.
Oh, he's thrown it. He's thrown the ace king away.
Must have put him on 2 pairs. Interesting.
So you're saying, Cass,
Yeah, I'm not focused enough on winning today. The fact that I wanted to go and play a second tournament is indicative of me when I get into it. I just want to play mentality. That's not good. So we're going to see some of the consequences of that.
Okay, well that will be interesting consequences to watch.
Bearing in mind, my record at the moment is 3 firsts and a second, and so I'm preparing myself for a fall here.
I don't think that's possible, Cass.
So it doesn't.
I don't think that's possible for you to fall.
You're playing the legend card again.
Exactly. I think it's a legend. I think we've got the legend. I think you could well be my new poker hero. We shall see. Hopefully you won't upset me.
So Max Power has 4 to the flush. I have Nout.
Well, you've picked up a little draw there, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'm doing my thing, just to clarify this, of calling in the later positions in these early stages of the tournaments, whilst it's cheap, to try and hit bizarre hands and get them to pay off through the beauty of implied odds.
I'm guessing there, if that 8-4 wasn't suited, you wouldn't even bother.
Probably not. You then come down to the Caro's law of loose wiring, which is I might do 5% of the time, but most of the time not.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, I hate Jack 4. I really can never foresee the situation in which I play Jack 4. There's something about that phrase which we can't say on television, Jack X, which does hold true. I believe it comes from 5-card stud. I've got Jack X, Jack rubbish.
Yeah.
And there is something about a raggedy jack which I find a lot more offensive than a raggedy 10 or a raggedy 8. There's nothing rational there. That's just my...
Well, I don't know, I think...
It's like it's the worst of the face cards and it's paired with a 4. You just think, that's rubbish.
Well, I don't think you get too many people disagreeing with you on that one. Pagan, however, is playing with his 5-6. He sort of doesn't know whether he wants to hit an 8 or not, really. Of course, an 8 will make a possible jack high straight for someone else, but he's only going to have a...
Not chips they're betting out.
Yeah, and there's that straight, possible straight now, so that's not so good for fish and chips. He's thinking, oh, gosh, can you believe it? Now, Pagan has got a choice here. Now, if I was in Pagan's shoes, I think he's got to put something out there. He's got to find out. Oh, he's just been nullified.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
They're all playing the board.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, three-way split. And he would have got called anyway, Pagan, so he might have just split it 2 ways as opposed to 3 ways, because I think Ballard would have gone out of that one with his King 7. But he would have had fishing for chips with his set still calling. Well, Gilda likes King Queen a bit better, by the looks of it, than you did.
He does, but then that comes back to this whole point of why raise with King Queen in early position to take blinds of 30? I mean, the only time it's going to get called or re-raised is when you're beaten. So you're risking, what was it, 60 or 80 chips to win 30 chips, which can't possibly win you the tournament.
No.
So I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Can't disagree on that one.
And Older becomes a key player for me, really, and I should have spent a little less time typing, and that's what I mean by not having a winning mentality tonight, and a little more time watching him, because we'll see later on he is my sort of nemesis player for reasons that will become clear.
Oh, okay, be interesting to see.
So I just make up the small blind now with my King 10.
Okay, got an under the gun limper there with the Ace Queen, playing it a bit sneaky.
Mm-hmm. And Older has hit his pair of 3s.
He's got to think that's good, isn't he, in this stage?
Yeah.
He just has to see whether Pagan's got aces or not, and if he puts a decent bet out here, probably needs to be more than pot size in order to ask the question. But he doesn't, and he gives everyone a free chance to draw at something. Well, if Caspar doesn't bet here, then Gilda, well, he does now. Now that's he's now taken it away from Gilda. He now has to fold, I think. I don't think he can call you. Well, he shouldn't be calling you anyway. It looks like you would have hit that jack. Story rings true for me.
Yeah.
And you're using your small blind well.
Yeah, just making it out and then betting out. If it's checked around on the flop, I'll often bet out, and that's a kind of...
Yeah, that's the great thing about the small blind. You're always first to act on the turn.
Yeah. It's statements like that I really shouldn't make, because it is little things like that I think make all the difference. And now I've said it, it's not just to beat the presenters, it's every time I play anyone live. But there you go. That's the job of being a P&L presenter, isn't it?
It is indeed.
All the secrets. It's not really a secret, but it's all the strategies that we adopt. So Pagan bets out with absolutely nothing, but it's too much for me, and so I fold.
Yeah, sort of hand that could have hit this big blind, couldn't it? And that's what he was basing it on, I think.
Yeah.
So good play there by Pagan. He read the situation well, and that's the thing about poker. It's all about situations. And an interesting point that Greg Raymer mentioned when he won the World Series that time. He said, at the end of the day, all I'm going to do is try and play make the right decision for each situation that comes up. It's not a case of leaving here today with 20,000 chips, 50,000 chips, 100,000, a million, whatever.
No, that's a very good point.
It's all about, of course I'd like to do that, but as long as I make the right decision for every hand that I do, then I've done nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So Hoofy with a 4-7 in the big blind. King 10 max power is playing under the gun. Don't like that. And Fishing for Chips is saying, well, if none of you want it, I'm probably leading anyway. I'll have a go. And I think he's right. I think anyone with a queen there would have bet. The only one that might not have is Pagan. He might have been hoping for a check raise with a queen there, hoping that someone else would do the betting for him, but that was probably the only person there that could have possibly been holding a queen, or of course a 6.
So here I am with my king queen again, and unfortunately the ace 10 and jack 10 have lured me in.
Ah, so you're raising.
I have to do a raise, don't I? Yeah.
James, look what Cass is doing.
I know. Well, I think I thought there was just money in the pot there, so I was going to take it.
Oh,
I'll tell you one of the things. I'll tell you one of the reasons why I did that actually. Not that I'm, particularly citing that as any sort of good play, but.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Now, nice at this point. Okay. Now remember this hand because you were watching me at the time when I was playing it. So I bet out now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a scary board there with a flush draw and possible straight draw.
Yeah, I get the call, and I hit my full house now. And obviously, I don't know what the guy's got.
No. But he could have been calling you the queen.
Right, and this comes back to the point that I wanted to make before this hand, which is that I have been betting quite aggressively in these tournaments. And so the reason I checked it there was because I wanted to make it that look like aggressive betting. Yeah. So I don't know what he's got.
Yeah.
The reason why it's probably incorrect is because of the two clubs there meant that that bet could have been on the flush draw, but who knows? He could have a queen. He could have been check raising me.
Yeah.
And so I check it to try and break him on the river, and as it happens, I don't break him because he's got nothing.
Yeah. I don't mind the play. I think it's very hard in that situation, but I think to a degree you needed to try. Basically, the turn card meant that you had to try and feign weakness in some way, didn't you? Now, there's different ways you can do that. One is by checking and saying that queen has scared me. I don't like the look of this anymore. Or two is by putting out a small weak bet.
Yeah.
And there's really only two options.
The reality of the situation is that he probably would have called a bet on the turn
because of his draw.
Because of his draw, which he wouldn't have called on the river. So, as we look at it from above, I probably passed up money there, but. I'm happy with the play because I do believe that the point of these early stages is
I don't think there's anything too wrong there, Cass.
Yeah.
I can't really say that as a wrong play in that situation.
But I am genuinely trying to double through in these early stages. I'm trying to break plays, and that's why I'll play those hands. I mean, all right, there I raised with King Queen, but that's why I'll play 8-2, for a call and a button on the cut-off, because on the times when you can break the plays, you can take all their chips. And I think any play that will do that is a good play. Whereas in the later stages, you've got to get more aggressive.
Well, it's giving you the green light to put a bet out there.
Yep.
And you have 280.
So yeah, that point about me being aggressive, what's obviously been observable and being commented on is the fact that people have folded to me a lot. And broadly speaking, rightly, because broadly speaking, I don't want to put my money in without the best hand. That's my personal objective in poker, but that has given me a nice sort of situation to take down the money, particularly when they've done that in the later stages. There have been some, people have been folding some reasonable hands like sort of ace jack, king jack to me in the later stage, which they probably wouldn't fold to other people. So I've come into this tournament today, particularly in a $50 tournament with good players, to try and take advantage of that. But what happens in the later stages is interesting because it becomes an incredibly tight tournament, in my opinion, and my attempts to take advantage of that do backfire. As we'll see.
You're getting me worried, Cass.
Well, don't be too worried.
Well, Hoofy's got the queens. He decided to 3 times the big blind is good. Fishing for Chips says, I'll have a look with my 8s. See if I can catch that 8. Oh, he does. Oh, poor old Hoofy. He needs a queen to arrive. Did he not have something like this earlier as well?
Hoofy just has had
he's
a
got a
terrible
jack
run
out
for quite a while, hasn't he? I mean, he had a great winning run, and then he's had a number of situations like this.
But I think he had a set
unfair.
I think he had a set last time beaten by. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a set. An overpair beaten by something else as well. I can't remember what it was. By 10s, I think, wasn't it?
Got to lay this down though now.
Yeah, kings against 10s. That's right. I think the guy hit a straight or something. Poor old Hoofy.
With that king out there, I think you got to let down there with the king and the 2 9s out there.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree with you.
I mean, I know 200 is cheap.
I think that 10 gave him some outs, wasn't it? That was the thing.
Yeah, no, I mean on the river. On the river. So now me and Hoofy are up against each other, and I think I bet out here. I think Hoofy raises me. Let's have a little look.
Yeah, that would be the right play, I think.
Yeah.
Pot size bet or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And if he raises you, then you can get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, nothing wrong in that.
Right, good for Hoof.
There's only one card you have to wonder about, and that's the Queen.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Most of the time,
He's not going to have it.
he's not going to have it, so you'll win that bet. Yeah. So Hoofy gets a little bit of a recovery there, not much. Quickly throws away the King Jack, I think it was for Hoofy there. Making jam with the 8s, no doubt. Probably want to put a raise here, will he? Let's have a look. He does 3 times. Well, Giorda with 7-8 decides doesn't want to play. On the button with it. Making jam takes the lead. Pagan might want to see if anyone's got an ace. And he does it.
Quite a big bet to do that.
It was a bit too big, yeah, I think. I think a pot size bet would have done that.
And once that's been raised, you know.
I don't think he's raised it though, has he? Has he raised it? He's just flat called, I think.
Was this? I think it was raised.
Was it?
I'm
All right,
fairly sure
okay.
it was raised. I think Pagan called. And once it's been raised, you can throw it away, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah,
You
he
know,
knows
he's
that.
bet
doesn't
into it again.
he? And he's wondering, he's looking at it, thinking, I'm on a small blind, I could have a 2. But he's not likely to be betting out with a 2. There's no story there, was
yeah,
there?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the phrase. There's no story there. And that for me is a classic error of bluffing, is the hope that because there's suddenly a 2 out there, if I bet, then I'll be put on a 2.
Yeah.
And you just won't be.
No, you have to follow. It's the story is through 4 rounds of betting, and there are four chapters, and each chapter's got to follow on from the other.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. He's hit 2 pair, but he doesn't like the look of that board with 3 diamonds out there, no diamond in his hand. So
No.
he'll want to start pushing, really. And in fact, he's committed to the 440 here, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
With 2 pair in your hand. Yeah. And that was a good size bet, I think, from Order.
Yeah.
Of course, I say it's a good size bet because had he have put the 440 immediately in, it will almost certainly tell Pagan. Well, having said that, it could be read the other way as well, but it could tell Pagan, look, I'm scared of those diamonds. Or by the same token, it could say that I've got the ace of diamonds. One of those 2. You've just got to make up your mind which is. Well, Ballard's missed, although he's in right to think with ace-4 that he's could well be ahead with an ace with a board like that, 8-8-3.
Yeah, it's the
But the problem is he's got no chips to sort of.
No.
He has to put in 20% of his chips to find out whether his ace is good.
Exactly.
So that's a problem. But I think I might have been tempted to do that. 8-8-3, that really is a nothing board. I can't imagine Order's got an 8 or a 3 in his hand. So it means that he can only call me with an overpair. Oh, sorry, a pair. And 16 to 1 to have that.
An overpay,
Yeah. Oh, this could be. Although we did see Making Jam fold the ace king earlier, so he's not folding this.
Yeah, not pre-flop.
No, not to a small blind raise.
Hits the jack.
He needs a 9.
Jack's not good enough.
Oh no, in fact the 9 is for the queens anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there we are.
Ballard doubles through.
And queens again.
Yeah, incredible. And not an ace jack in sight.
So I'm liking this game at the moment. It's more than a crapshoot. It's good decisions for each player.
Yeah, there's not. No one's really that desperate at the moment. There's 1 or 2. I mean, Pagan's under the cosh a bit, as is Making Jam, but they're not. Making Jam isn't that desperate, but Pagan needs to really find something. Well, 4,
Unfortunately,
9,
I don't flop a queen.
Yeah, very fortunate.
Or queen and an 8 worse still.
Well, Ballard's going to bet this. He's pretty confident he's got the best hand there.
Yeah.
And no one's got any answer. But they could have been perceived as a button steal there. There's three checks with a 9 high board that no one bet. But too risky. To raise there, you're sort of committing a big chunk of your change to find out whether he is bluffing or not.
Mm.
But if I'm not mistaken, he didn't raise pre-flop. He limped in on the button.
He did, yeah.
Very crafty.
Okay at this stage in the tournament. But they're already 40-80. I would raise with queens there.
Yeah, because there's enough in the pot as well.
Yeah.
He's had 3 limpers or whatever, and you don't really want to play it 3 or 4-handed, do you?
No. Or if you do, you've got to be such a disciplined player to lay them down. If you don't, if overcards come. So yeah, Tom and I were talking the other day and just saying, not never, but it's rare that it's not correct to raise pre-flop with queens. It's just so much more often the best and easiest and most straightforward play. I'm not saying move all in. I'm not saying you don't want to make a decision on the flop. Of course, you want to make a decision on the flop. It's what poker's all about. But it's just very often good to make a raise of queens.
Well, chunky bet there by fishing. Make sure that Max Power doesn't call with his pair of 4s. And he carries on 3 times. Nice bet there. Takes that one down. Oh, Cass, look at, picked up a nice little hand there.
Yeah.
Ace King. Let's see how Cass plays it.
So for me, it's all about, as you say, the narrative and things. So I'm putting a 3 times raise here, and I'll see what happens. Talk about it in just a minute.
Yeah. Well, you got it through, and 240 to win 120.
And I tried to show my cards there, but I don't think I did, because I really wanted to. I thought, okay, well, if they're going to fold to me, then I want to reinforce that impression.
Yeah, look at that. We've had one Ace King to absolutely nothing for everyone. King 8 is the best hand out there. Incredible. And he's probably going to fold unless he tries for a steal. But he's got 4 players behind him. Probably not in a great position. Well, he does, and he's actually betting with the best hand. He probably doesn't realise that King 8 is the best hand at that stage. He probably thinks he's just nicking it. But every hand there was terrible, wasn't it? 5-2, 7-2, 9-4, 10-2. Horrible.
So yeah, I mean, I guess my point would be, Mark, that my biggest concern, particularly at the $50 table, is how the players regard me. Yeah, is to get a feel for what my bets are going to say and do. And to be honest with you, that is the key to this game. And I think I may not have commented on it when it's happened already, but my relationship with Giolda from the small blind to his big blind becomes absolutely key here. So okay. I'm fairly sure that I've passed one unraised small blind already, and you know that's what I talk about on the show. I don't like to play the small blind unless I've got a good reason to. I think I've lost so much money doing that for no reason. And I'm
Sorry, I had this subject up with Malcolm the Rock the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, the first time I've been with Malcolm, and he was saying, we just got into the subject of talking about the small blind. He goes, I don't play it anymore.
Right.
I said, oh, right, okay. What made you stop playing it? He goes, well, it was by talking to Caspar. So I said, oh, right, okay. He goes, but I'll tell you something. He goes, I actually like to play it. He goes, oh, it was a good money winner for me. He goes, and I think I'm going to start playing it again.
I was going to say, the day that Malcolm chooses his poker strategy by listening to me is a very sad day for poker.
So that was an interesting thing there. So you're listened to by the best.
It's very kind of Malcolm. I think that may have been a product of a conversation that we had. It was an interesting contribution by Tom, Dr. Tom, on this subject, which is Tom, who I certainly respect. I'm sure you do, is a very good player. And after his first 10,000 hands on Poker Tracker, he saw that he was actually he'd actually broken even from the small blind. So I'll say it again. He'd broken even from the small blind as if he'd always just thrown it away, right?
Right.
And my point was, well, if a good player like Tom has broken even from the small blind as if he's thrown it away, Christ, let's just all throw it away. Do you know what I mean? Now, I think more recently, he's making more of a profit from the small blind. Now here we go. So I've got Jack 8. No, right, fine. I got the better hand on that situation, but I don't understand why I play Jack 8 from the small blind.
Yeah.
I know there's a big furore in the forums recently about Nick doing something like that from the small blind, and someone go, you've got to play those situations, but I don't want to. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I'm passing it there, okay? And it's always noted when when you do pass your small blind to the big blind, when it's passed to you, it's always like, as you say, you're giving the big blind a, what do you call it, free rider?
It's just a walk.
Walk,
Yeah.
walk, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite the opposite. I actually quite like playing the small blind. I find it gives me good bluffing opportunities. Nothing else, just good bluffing opportunities.
Sure.
For really small outlays, usually, especially in cash games. Not so much in tournaments. I'm not mad over it in tournaments, but I do like it in cash games.
Yeah. Now there, I've had ace queen and I've raised it, and I'm aware that you see that I've raised max power again, because max power had the big blind when I was ace king. And again, I can't remember, Mark, I'm sorry whether I showed my cards then or not, but I want to, because I don't want Max Power to think that I'm beating him up, actually. I want him to think, oh, well, Caspar's had, 2 hands, so that when later on in the tournament I do have a hand, or I don't have a hand, I want Max Power to think, well, Caspar hasn't been bullying me, actually.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, that's sound strategy, yeah.
As Malmuth says,
something I like to do.
We're less likely to have hands than we are going to have them, and therefore it's good to have, what would you call it, not goodwill, but something in your favour bank, or your perception bank that people will fold to you.
Let's take one more hand and we'll just get some stats on board. So Hoofy's decided to make a move with his ace-10. He's going to get called. In fact, he's going to get re-raised. And needs something desperate to happen here. Only a 10 now. No. So we have our 6th place finisher, and that's Hoofy. Didn't really have much luck today. He had a set beaten. Well, he had a pair of queens beaten by a lower set, and never really got going. And I've seen him have a bit of a bad run here. Unlucky Hoofy. So I think it's time for those stats, is it? There we go. And we can see G. Alder has been, the most active according to that. I haven't seen him do that much, but 16% he's been raising. And where are you, Cass? You're just not that far below me, so you've been pretty active too.
Yeah, I'm pretty active. And
the most active.
Am I playing the most hands? That would be right.
Well, actually, no, because Pagan's played as many as you.
Yeah.
But having said that...
No, but yeah.
He's already out, so no, he's
played a lot.
Actually, pro rata, he played more than you, because...
yeah, that's true.
Having said that, no, it was just percentage.
percentage.
Yeah, it's percentage. That makes no difference. Absolutely. Very interesting stuff.
Don't remember it staying like this for quite so long. Now there we are. I've just passed my small blind again to G. Alder. I know we didn't see it. I know it wasn't that dramatic.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So once again, that's two rounds in a row now that I've passed my small blind.
Yeah. But there's no guarantee he'll fold.
No.
That's the thing.
No.
Yeah, to a raise.
No, I'm setting it up because it becomes significant.
Right. Okay.
Becomes significant. I'm really interested to see what he had one hand. I'll tell you that hand when we come to it. Pair of hooks for making jam.
He can't really raise, so he's just gone all in, same sort of thing. And just fishing with chips, doesn't want to know. Don't blame him. Didn't have a hand he could call with. King 3 for Cass. I'm sure he's not going to be playing this.
So there it is, blinds again. And you see, one of the things I'm saying about this game, Mark, is it's a real blinds tournament.
Yeah.
It's
starting to get there now, isn't it?
Yeah. No. So okay. So in actual fact, so what I'm thinking here is it's now gone up to 163.20, right? Which means I've only got just over 4 big blinds. That's a stupid amount to bet. I should have gone all in.
Well, I think you're telling everyone that you're pot committed anyway. I don't think it makes that much difference, Really?
But I'm thinking this tournament has become very, very tight. It's almost entirely between the blinds.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, well, I raise with ace-5 and I get called with ace-jack. And everyone went, oh my God, what are you doing with ace-5?
Yeah.
But that's my thinking then. I'm not saying for one moment, and then we split the pot.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that we split the pot because that means that I didn't get so much abuse. If I'd won it and I'd outdrawn the guy, I would have got a massive abuse.
Yeah.
But that was my thinking there, is just these blinds are going round and round and round and no one's taking them. I didn't do it because it was ace-5. I did it because it was the first position.
Right.
I really, I should have just gone on for first position. And the thing that people forget is that the only reason that I've come, that I've got 3 firsts is because I've done that in every single tournament. I've made some raise with trash from first position. And the only difference is, on previous occasions, it didn't get called.
Yeah.
And so now everyone's going, God, what are you doing that? On previous occasions, the guy wouldn't have called with ace-jack, such was my image.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on this occasion, it's very easy to say, oh, well, that looks awful. But it would have looked awful on previous occasions if they called me because I'd have had 4-7.
Well, if I do something like that, they call me a queen-9, never mind ace-jack.
Because you're looser than me.
Yeah.
So there he had 6-8 and I had 10-7 and he won. So I'm now, I'm back to square one now.
Oh, and Bellar froze. Did I see a pair of 7s?
Did he?
From the cut-off, yeah.
Yeah. So now I raise from the small blind, and he's got no call at all. All right, so this is the hand that I wanted to see. This is the hand that I wanted to see, because I wanted to see what he had. Okay? So I push from the small blind. He's got 6-3. The timer still goes down. I don't know if he's thinking about calling, but the one time that I do anything from the small blind. So now I go into I've got to make chips mode, and it's great that I've got a little pair of 4s. That's fantastic. I'm going to move in again. Because back to square one, I'm not going to sit on square one. I'm not going to sit there when the blinds are 320 on 3 times the big blind.
Yeah.
Just not going to do it. So.
Well, you've got a little flush draw as well to aim
55% shot, and there it is.
Yeah,
Even
and he's
though,
hit it straight.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
There we are, more abuse for me.
Yeah. Well, you're a
but that's what I'm
favourite in
going to
that
do. Yeah, I'm a 55% favourite. I'm going to do that, and exactly the same again now. So I've got a pair of 5s. And I think Making Jam thanks me for isolating here, so I push over the top. And I would do this every single time, even though I know, Making Jam, as far as I'm concerned, is short stacked. He would do that with a lot of hands that I'm still favourite over.
Yeah.
So of course he could have a bigger pair than me, but the point is you've got to put yourself in the other player's head and say, what would he do this with in his situation? Because his situation is desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he hits his 10.
The only thing people would say is that no matter what he's got, Cass, he's going to do it with. Oh, let's just see what we've got here.
Yeah. So basically now I've got queens, and that's beautiful. Yeah. So now I push, hoping that someone's going to go. Caspar's pushed the last 4 hands.
Yeah.
And of course nobody does. In fact, why doesn't Making Jam call me here?
Well, it's just he doesn't want to call with a7. I don't
No,
blame
he
him for
doesn't
that.
call.
Yeah, I can't blame him for
No,
that.
no, I'm not saying it would have been a good move. I'm just wanting to.
The thing that people might say though with a pair of 5s is that in effect all you're doing is calling, knowing that the guy is almost certainly going to have, regardless of what he's done it with, going to certainly have 2 overcards.
Yes, absolutely.
So 3-4. You probably thought, I've done it once too often, perhaps I better.
Yeah, and I'm fairly sure I fold this. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course he's under the gun, so.
Oh yeah, so I was big blind there. Yeah, no, that's a no-brainer. No, I'm looking for these small blind opportunities. So I'm fairly sure I fold this too.
Yeah, don't
In
blame
fact,
me on that
Making
one.
Jam might even make this easier for me, as I recall. No. Okay, so I fold that. So it's all about this blinds confrontation, because this is what's going to define the tournament, certainly for me. I'm still 5-handed here. And I don't like this at all. I mean, I really don't like having, 6 times the big blind. I know that at this stage in the tournament, everyone's short stacked, but 5-handed at 160, 320, I really don't feel at all comfortable.
No, I don't blame you. They're even gone up now. You've got 3 times the big blind.
That's right.
So, everyone's in a desperate situation. The blinds are huge compared to the chips that are out there per player.
Yeah.
So, and the buttons about the big blinds almost with you.
Mm.
You decided not to steal it there. I think I might have been tempted. Didn't fancy it there? You could do with an extra 1,000 there, couldn't you?
Yeah,
and the next hand you're going to go down to 14.
Yeah.
And then 1,000. Wonder if Making Jam would have called you with that hand. That's the only thing. He might have been pot committed by the same token. 640.
So here we are, four-handed. And I have a bit of luck there because I missed the big blind because of the program defect.
Yeah, that worked out nicely for you.
No dead small blind. Yeah, did.
Of course, normally in live poker, there'll be just one big blind only.
Which would have been me.
Which would have been Caspar. Of course, in some sites, this being one of them, it just continues on its merry way. And the big blind skips over, making sure there's a big and small blind. So when one player gets knocked out in the middle of those, that usually means that you get the advantage.
And here comes the big blind round again. It's a bit like approaching Mayfair when your mate's got a hotel on it. It's coming round to that bit of the board every time. Terrifies you. So here I am with the jacks.
Well, all I was thinking about, well, you could be doing it with anything. Is my ace good? But unfortunately, with ace two, you're not beating very much at all. You know, you're sure you're beating king, queen and king, jack, but barely. You know, you're beating it maybe by 5% or so, 55, 45, something like that. 56, 57, not much more, if at all. He's giving you a little dwell up. Obviously, well, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm very surprised about that. I was really amazed that he turned over that.
Why would he possibly call with 6-4? He just really wants to knock you out. Making Jam. He throws away ace king earlier, but calls you with 6-4. I mean, I just don't understand the logic.
Through a7 as well.
Making Jam, if you were listening into this, let us know why you called with 6-4, because surely whatever Caspar had, it would have been better than that.
And that throws that.
Yeah, well, he thinks he's got a little bit of a reprieve for a couple of hands.
So now look at me. Brilliant. Now, I'm much happier, and I've got ace queen.
Yeah, big chip leader.
Everything's rosy in the garden. Now I raise from the small blind. Great. And now that's it. I do just a 2 times big blind raise. And I wanted to know what he had here. I was wrong. This was the hand where I wanted to know what he had.
Okay.
Because he thinks for a long time. Like,
well, he's thinking whether he can re-raise and get off the hand, but he realises he can't. So he can't be beating anything with 3-4. He's practically got the nut low. So,
Mark, is this a big mistake? Be honest.
No.
Sure?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'll tell you why. I think it's a very good play by you, actually. I actually think it's the opposite. I think it's a good play. And the reason, if I can just hopefully show you why I think it's a good play, is because Fishing for Chips had 2,000 odd chips there, 2,500. The others are down to the wire. He can't call you there with practically anything bar a big, big hand.
Yeah, okay.
Because of the other two.
Okay.
So, you know, he's risking his life in a situation where he just can't call. So, you know, without a massive hand. So, no, I think that's a very good play. I don't think he calls you with ace-jack, for example. I don't think he can.
No. Okay.
Not when the others are so low and he's on the bubble.
That was an example of a play which I thought I might not make if I was focused on winning.
No, I think that's a very good play.
But I might do.
Yeah, I think that was the right play.
Okay, so here we are. There we are. This is the one. So now I move from the small blind with 8-6. And look at that. All right, so he's got 640 in the pot and he's got 1,300. And think of every time that's raised from the big blind, small blind, I've got it, right? And he calls me a 5-10. And
you need a 5. No.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you think of that?
He called you because he's in the money now. He thinks, okay, well, I'll take a chance. Yeah, it's the only reason. It's the only reason he called you at 5-10. He's in the money. He's in the money. I'll try and double up. I don't think there's any other reason behind it.
So there you are. That's my walking to the car thinking about it hand.
Yeah, I don't think you should beat yourself up too much about it. Look, the blinds are extremely high. 641, 280. What are you going to do, Cass?
I know, but I spent my whole life preaching that you should be conservative and it 3-handed.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't afford to be. You know, the blinds are 2,000 around. How can you be conservative?
Yeah, no.
You know, 2,000 around. There's how many chips in play? We're talking about what? 9,600 in play.
Yeah, this is fun. Look. Dun, dun, dun. Is the comeback on? Yes, I've made my flush.
Unfortunately, you won't get the pot though.
Come on, yes I do. I get a little bit of it.
A little tiny bit of it, yeah.
Take it up to 120. Come on. Lots of fun.
And he's giving you some protection.
And in my heart of hearts, Mark, I know that I can do it now. He's got to outdraw me. Look, I've hit my jack. Oh.
Diamond?
That is unfair.
That is unfair. Diamond. At least make it the ace of diamonds. Wow.
Good hand for fishing for chips. I'm out in third, my worst result.
It is your worst, but you've
Still
had
making
some
money for the
phenomenal
kids
success.
And the wards.
That's why you're the legend.
And you know, I was so buzzing, I wanted another game.
Did you?
Yeah.
You didn't play. You didn't play another game.
I played another game.
Cass, you're a bad boy. So now you've played 6.
Yeah.
Gosh. 6. You must be... And you've got into the money in every single one, apart from this one, which we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
So 5 out of 6 so far. Bloody amazing. Are we going to see the 6th one? Or should we do an email? Let's do an email or so while those boys are getting the 6th one ready. Here we go. I've got one from Pam. And Pam is saying about the under the gun thing. To deal the cards, you need 2 hands. Therefore, you have to put your gun down on a table. Hence, the hand immediately after the hand is under the gun.
After the dealer, yeah.
Yeah.
Under the gun. Okay, cool. Excellent.
There you go. Thanks very much for that,
Yeah,
Pam.
thank you, Pam.
Thank you indeedy. And I've got a long one here from Andy. And Andy is saying, Dear Mark and Cass, I just got in from a semi-serious home game tournament in which I didn't place a game. We've been playing the home game for about 2 years now. This is going to be worrying, isn't it? hasn't placed for 2 years. The first year I won a lot and found myself better by some way from most of the other players. Now I keep on leaving out the money and getting beaten by players who even 6 months ago I could easily outplay. I know everyone's improved, but I think that I've been overtaken. I used to be tight aggressive and now I've changed to incorporate hands such as 7-8 suited in position, etc. into my starting hands. But I feel that this is also causing me problems. Would tightening up help to solve this, or is that throwing away good value? I'll pass this over to you before we move to the second section, but what do you think?
You know, I hate emails like this because I always want to go to the home game and watch him playing and, you know, sit there or see the cards that he's folding and that kind of thing and assess other parts of his game because it's so difficult to tell without all the information. Yeah, if you put all the information in the email, it would be 40 pages long. So going by the information that you've put, I think it would be better to go back to tightening up because I think the point is when you're playing mates who are erratic, when you play hands like 7-8, but more marginal hands in later positions, you put yourself in a situation where you need to make gut calls, you need to make judgment calls, and you're playing against players who it's difficult to make judgment calls against because what they do doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean? So I would say it'd be better to go back to tightening up. You're making less judgment calls. The cards are playing themselves more often. You're going to win more pots because more hands go to the showdown, and you have the better cards more often. It's more boring. It's less fun, it's less flair, makes you look less skillful when it happens because people just go, oh yes, because he plays very few hands. But sometimes poker's like that, isn't it? It
is, yeah, and I think it's important. You know, when things don't work out for you, you go back to foundations. And for me, tightening up is going back to foundations. I do it sometimes, believe it or not. You know, if I think things aren't going quite right and I'm slightly off track, then I'll go back to tightening up and restart that process again. So it's important to get back to foundations sometimes. Sometimes you need to get back to basics. And even Phil Hellmuth in his book, I know you love that book so much, but even Phil Hellmuth in his book says about, where at some point you just need to go back to the start and you'll be surprised all of a sudden you start winning again. So not a bad bit of advice. It goes on to say, I have one major concern that there is, I don't think we've got time for it actually.
No, we probably have time for it. How to exploit a player's weakness. Yeah. So we'll talk about how to exploit a player's weakness.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to that after the break.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a little break now because I believe that we've got a caller on the line now. Who might that caller be? You ask. And where is Cass in the picture too? You're also wondering. You're just going to go, aren't you?
Go.
Yeah. Okay. You go off, and I'll see you a bit later. Let's see what happens. So I think we've got Paul Chung for our final segment of the evening. Are you still with us, Paul?
Yeah, I'm here, mate.
Yeah, good to hear from you again. So you must be on dessert by now.
Not really, because I've been talking on the phone to you guys, so I can't eat.
It's a slow dinner. Tell me something. You mentioned earlier about the World Series coverage that you've got going.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into it. Do you think Inside Edge magazine will be putting a lot of effort into covering the World Series this year?
Well, definitely. I mean, everyone is doing it, but it's not as though you can. I mean, you could stand out from the crowd by not doing it, but it's not going to gain you anything. So yeah, we'll definitely be pushing hard in it.
And will there be any live coverage on the site or anything like that?
Yeah, we're going to try and get someone out there who's recording a diary for us, maybe on me. So, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing you need, really, live updates all the time.
OK. Now, you mentioned also, we were talking earlier in the last segment about interviews with people, and did you have an interview with any of the Swedish mob?
Yeah, Eric Sagström, the Salmon.
All right. Perhaps you could just tell the viewers who don't know Eric about Eric.
Well, he's a Swede. He's about 21 years old, and he's considered basically one of the best online players. And he's only been playing for 2 years, but he's a multi-millionaire already. He really does clean up online.
Right. So he's done it from a very early age, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's been playing pro for a couple of years now. I mean. So, he's still relatively inexperienced. I mean, he's only just started playing live. So, I think...
Yeah, well, he's been playing live for about 18 months, so he hasn't quite transformed his live game quite like his online game, has he?
No, not yet.
He's played a lot of live stuff, but he's yet to change the success he's had online to live.
That's right, yeah. I mean, he was talking to me about that. He was saying how, he's still trying to improve the reading, tells part of his game, which obviously you don't get online.
No.
But he seems very dedicated, so I'm sure he'll get it soon.
Yeah. So how did your interview go with him? What kind of stuff? Were any interesting nuggets that came out of that?
Yeah, I was interviewing him at Poker Nations kind of cup, which a lot of these things seem to go on at the moment, where he was with like 4 of his countrymen playing, other nations around the world. And I mean, actually they went out quite early, but no, he seems to play really well, basically. And he's a really nice guy, and he's quite quiet, quite soft-spoken, but and very into his poker. But he says he can play for quite a few hours on end, like 32 hours on end. So.
Wow. Yeah, he's a pretty dedicated guy. I mean, I've met him a couple of times just to say hello to him more than anything else, nothing really. Yeah. In Barcelona in a heads-up championship, I think he came. I think he made it, if I remember, to either the 5th round or the quarterfinals. So he got sort of fairly far, but just couldn't push it that little notch extra. But online, it's a different animal, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah.
So also, I understand there's a new, interesting. We've seen a lot of people talking about this battleship poker, and I understand there's a new theme to that.
What, this new poker table?
Yeah, well, this new poker table. Yes, a sort of a form of the battleship poker that was being played in some event recently.
Yeah, it's called the Poker Pro table, and basically it mixes online poker and live poker together. And I think we've been kind of playing around with it because we were kind of invited to test it, and we think it's really good. I mean, we think it's the way forward. It increases like hand speed, number of hands per hour a lot. You get as many as you would online.
How does that work exactly?
How does the table work?
Yeah.
Basically, it's a 10-seater table. Everyone has a computer screen in front of them. There's a bigger screen in the middle of the table, which is for the community cards. And then you have your hole cards on your screen, and you have like your chip stacks. And you see your hole cards by cupping your hand on the screen, and then it's a touch screen, so your hole cards appear to you like that.
Okay.
And
then,
so
that's quite an interesting innovation then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think what they're trying to do is, what you'll be able to do in the future is, because it's computer operated, obviously, you'll be able to play like, across countries, just like you would in Via. So, yeah, I think it's the way forward, really.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for that, Paul. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for your input.
Okay, mate.
And that was Paul Chung from Inside Edge magazine, so I hope you enjoyed that. In the meantime, we're going to take a break, so we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Poker Night Live with myself, Mark Prince Charles Banin, and legendary Caspar Berry. That's a new name for you, the legend.
Seriously, I'll go, like I did for the interview.
OK, we won't want that. We won't want that. We've got a couple of emails. One was just touching on what Andy was saying in the last email, Cass. And he goes on to say, I have one major concern, and that and that is one player who comes first, roughly about 40% of the time. He's a solid player, mixes it up, semi-bluffs a lot, and raises with good hands, and generally slow plays aces and kings pre-flop. He thinks I'm a fairly tight player, generally respects my raises, but tries to bully himself. I've tried to find his weaknesses, and the only one I've found is that he tilts a lot after a bad beat, more than the others. How can I find the other weaknesses and exploit them? Any help? Much appreciated.
Okay, two things. Number one, that's not your aim. When I was playing in Vegas, I would play with 6 decent, solid players every single day in the Mirage. It's not my job to try and find their weaknesses. It's my job to prey on the weak. Okay, so you can spend 90% of your time trying to make your game good enough to beat him, or you can spend 90% of your time trying to exploit the weaknesses of the weaker players. All right, so just avoid him and exploit the others. That's the first thing to say. The second thing to say is you've already found his weakness. His weakness is that he tilts. That's brilliant. That's all you need to know. Then it's about needle. If you really want to do it, if you really want to get into this, then you've got to wind him up. The question is whether you want to do that. I mean, I'm not saying you should, because I don't necessarily think that that's the most important thing in life. But you've already found it. You've just got to have the guts to exploit it. And the third thing that I would say is when you want to exploit players, the thing that you need to do is establish dominance. And that's the problem that you're really having at the moment, is that you are subservient to him at a status level, and that starts and ends actually in your own mind. So what I would say is you've got to believe that you're better, know that you're better, talk to him like you're better, establish dominance at the table, and that, if he goes on tilt, will in itself go quite some way towards rectifying that balance as it is at the moment. In other words, if you go in believing that you're second best, you'll come out of it believing you're second best.
Okay, thanks very much. There's not really much I can add to that. I think you covered that pretty well. So excellent there. We've got a couple of emails here. One very quick one is from Marie. She's saying, "Hi, Mark and Caspar." Hi, Marie. Isn't Nick joking? Is Nick joking when he says to call with 7-8 offsuit? Nick is now. Well done, Nick. Good man, Nick. Or is there some secret to it? I often see hands now where it wins. Great show, regular watcher. Oh, there's Nick's converted. I didn't realise. I thought he was my toughest one to convert, and he seems to be praising it now. What do you make of that? Is Nick a convert?
What do you think?
I don't think he is. I don't think he is. So maybe you meant me. I'm the actual 7-8 offsuit man. And if Nick is saying it, well, I'm surprised. Well, what is the secret about 7-8 offsuit? You've got to remember, it's certainly not a hand that should be played by beginners. And the reason it's sort of one of these hands that don't try this at home. And the reason I say that is because with 7-8 offsuit, you're going to have to bluff a lot. You're going to have to read situations and win without actually having the hand. You're just using it as any old hand in effect. But you're using it generally in position or in reverse position if you're playing it from a small blind. So it does depend on your ability to read situations and read other players and other players' holdings. Now, if you feel that you're good at that, then that's great. If you feel that you're not so good at that, then you'll find 7-8 a very tricky hand to play and win with it on a regular basis. So that's really my general advice with 7-8. I do say it a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I do like the hand, and it's good if you're an experienced player and can read situations, but you do have to bluff with it a fair amount of the time. So there's my 7-8 situation, and perhaps get yourself away from other tricky situations, which includes top pair. One final email before we take a look at Cass's second tournament, and it is from Karen. Hi, Caspar and Mark. Hi, Karen. Will we get a chance to see Caspar's second tournament tonight? I only ask because I stumbled into it by chance. I've never had the luxury of commentators' comments. So I know I did okay, but was it by luck rather than skill? And so I would really welcome some criticism so I can improve my game. Thanks in advance. Well, thanks very much for Karen. I'll tell you what, I'll look out for you, Karen, and hopefully it'll be obvious to spot which one you are, and I'll try and give you some general comments, as will Cass. So, without further ado, let's head over to Caspar's second tournament. Okay, so this is a smaller tournament, Cass, isn't it?
And I've called with kings in early position, which is one of the few times that I will call with kings, Mark, which is when the blinds are low in a tournament like this.
Okay.
Partly for this exact situation.
Now, the other question is which one is Karen? I assume it will either be, it won't be Chaminade, it must be TEMH. It's the only one I haven't seen before. On that hands, possibly.
I just call here with the aim of check raising.
So you just flat call, very cheeky.
Exactly what I do. He's raised me before the flop. That's the perfect check raise situation. If only all poker could work like this. And he does call me again.
Doesn't believe you, hey, for the queen.
No. So now I have to think what's going to extract the most amount of money, because I really do figure that I'm best here. That is what my decision is based on. Could he have 3 queens? Yes, of course he could. But
if he does, it's bad luck for you, isn't it?
bad luck for me.
Yeah.
I think I went to 250, I think. Can't exactly remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think...
No,
Oh, you think you can get all of it? Well, no room for manoeuvre for Snakey. He's either got to call or fold. What does he do? Well, he's fortunate that that queen is out there. Oh, he does call. He thinks that you're trying to make a move on him.
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons that I go all in is because I want to close it down effectively. Of course, he could have me beat, but I think there's a very good chance that I'm winning at that point.
Yeah. Okay, so there's one dearly departed. I wonder which one is Karen. Should have told us, Karen.
If it's Nap Hands, then she's a good player. Nap Hands plays well in this game, I feel.
Okay. Okay, well, okay, I think she might be Charminade, actually. But I've seen Charminade play and I've commentated on her before, I'm sure. Maybe it's just my imagination. So let's see here. Calls from, I don't mind the call. Blinds are still fairly cheap. That's a pretty good flop for you, on the assumption that, let's see what Cass does. Could be slow playing something big under the gun there. He's only got one person to beat, so he might decide to put a bet out here. Let's see what he does. You might think, well, the other two have checked. Well, the other one, should I say, has checked. Only got one person to beat Cass. Did you think about betting here?
I think I would if the pot was bigger. I would think about it. I don't think I do think about it.
Yeah.
I think I'm writing the chat box, to be honest with you.
Okay. And Chaminade should obviously put a... I would like to see about, I was going to say a little bit more than pot size. You don't want to make it too cheap for people. And the pots are small like that. Sometimes you do need to, I feel you need to actually push. I know James would disagree with me, but I certainly would like to make it a bit more painful for the people to call with their draws. So Chaminade's doing quite well as we speak. Queen 9, another limp. I don't mind that too much. If you're prepared to read pre-flop and read the flop and play it well. And, well, you're in a good position here. Cass has got an inside straight draw as well as bottom pair. And he's betting in his inside straight draw, and I like that. Now he's got a bit of resistance. Of course, Chaminade could have the 9-10. She's also got she's got top pair in the inside straight draw. And...
yeah, and I know I'm screwed now.
yeah.
No, that's not my finest hour.
Well, I think you did nothing wrong in playing it the way you did. You didn't lose a great deal, and you had a free card to hit yours straight.
I think, the thing is that...
cheap card, should I say?
Like I say, not my finest hour at all. If I'm going to sort of give an insight as to why I play it that way, it's because at this stage I do like to play aggressively when it's not going to cost me too much. That did cost me more than I normally would like to spend, but I feel happy that I've doubled through. I'm feeling happy that I'm taking an aggressive stance in this tournament, which I like, which I do actually throughout, I think, and this is great for me as well. Guy pushes in. I don't think about it too long, to be honest, because even now the call, I'm still have the same number of chips that I started off with. Look at that, we both have 4 5s. I'll have it with an ace.
Yeah, ace plays.
That's rotten, isn't it? Poor old TMH.
Well, he was trying to push over you with a king 9, but you're just basically hoping that you couldn't call. But I suppose if you didn't have ace king, you might have decided to fold it away, thrown it away, but not this time. So this is they're all going out very quickly here, aren't they? We've already had 3 players go out, and it's only the second level.
This is a weird tournament. You haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, be interesting to see. Nap hands Jack 4. Now, by the looks of it, it's called a race from you, from the small blind.
Yeah, look at this. I put it down without hesitation.
Yeah,
Good bet.
But it's too much, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's basically saying pot committed to this hand.
Yeah, good for him.
Well, big play there by Nap hands.
No, did he call a race from me? No, I think...
He must have done because the pot was fairly big, yeah. So Queen 8, Caspar decides to go on his merry rounds, stealing.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 60 in the pot, so I wouldn't blame anyone for saying that's a pointless race, to be honest with you. But I think it's just...
You're on momentum, haven't you?
yeah, it's momentum. It's...
Well, I don't mind it, to be honest with you.
You're kind of different in each sit and go. Do you know what I mean? No, what I mean by that is that the players will have a different perception of you in each sit and go. So right now, in this sit and go, yes, I have momentum, and I'm going to take a very aggressive stance, basically.
And you can afford to do it because there's not many players that you better sort. It's a short-handed table now, so and the blinds are low. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's not a bad thing to risk 120 to win 60 every time.
And I've got to be honest with you, Mark. It's also fun. But seriously, do you know what I mean?
It is nice to be aggressive.
Yeah,
I don't like being tight. It's no fun, like you said. Got to enjoy it.
I was playing in a casino in Newcastle the other day with the crowd that I used to play with in Newcastle, and got my usual load of rubbish in the first 2 hours of the rebuys in Newcastle, and there was everyone assuming that I was the tightest player in the world again. It's very difficult when you believe in chaos and rationality, as I do, to rationalise within yourself and then try and explain to others that it's literally just the hands that I get in the first 2 hours of the Newcastle rebuy period. I've had them like that for 4 years. I'm used to it. It never changes. People talk about the outdraws I get here. I tell you what, I don't get anything like that in the casinos in Newcastle.
Wow, so you're blessed, is what you're saying.
I'm not sure really whether I prefer to get them here for pride or there for money.
Well, Buffy and Chaminade seems to be playing a good game at the moment. Got nicely up to triple the stack, up to 3,000 with the 9-2 there. I'm sure it's going to fold that. And you get a little walk there. You must be pleased about that.
I am ecstatic.
Now it's a good time for Cass to be bullying Buffy. In fact, not Buffy so much because he's almost about to go in with anything. But someone should be bullying Bellar. And Nap Hands as well, who probably doesn't want to go out before Buffy or Bellar. So Nap Hands is probably the prime target, I guess, on his table at the moment. If you were targeting someone.
So just make up the small blind there.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't in a cash game.
I think that's Chaminade's mistake in that case. Had one person fold, only got now, with a pair of fours, you really don't want to try and hit a set against any of these guys. It's just, this is a time you do want to bet out. And I think Chaminade has enough in the pot for you to make him pay for playing their rubbish hands, especially with a pair of fours. You want to try and get it heads up, or you want to try and just win it there and then. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because whilst the blinds are low, and that would dictate a sort of passive strategy, actually that there are 3 players are out, and so exactly what I'm doing is taking the initiative and playing aggressively. I'm not sure what the delay was there, but there we are. Yeah, I tried to take it with my inside straight semi bluff, and he calls me, and I don't have anything now, so I'm sobered by my experiences of trying to steal before.
Yeah, now, he's actually got a pair as well, and he'll probably just call you for that small bet. Oh, he doesn't. Wow.
No, I'll tell you what it was. That's really surprising. I'm amazed that he's got the
7.
Yeah, because I put him there on a flush draw that he picked up on the turn.
Yeah.
Or a possible 10-jack straight draw.
And that's why you put there just to win it, because you knew your 8 was unlikely to be winning.
Yes, that's something that I'm doing increasingly actually. And I think it's a very effective move.
It is, absolutely. You're a man after my own heart, Cass.
Yeah, on the river to take away from possible. Well, and correctly, because they don't have a call. So people will drop busted draws on the river for tiny bets. Tiny bet, because they sit there and go, well, he's probably bluffing, but what on earth am I supposed to do except come over the top of something which could be a value bet?
What do you make of this? He's bet out with the house. I don't really understand. I know he's got the lower full house, but still.
The only if I'm in that situation and I'm doing that, it's because of some kind of narrative between us two previously.
Yeah.
For me, sit and goes are all about the previous exchanges that you've had with that person. Because that's all you have with them, and it's not like the ebb and flow of a cash game. You have this certain number of hands, and I think people have quite a good memory for the hands they played between people. And I could be completely wrong, but that's how I'm always playing a sit and go.
And I'm surprised that Chaminade. I would have liked Chaminade to actually possibly put out a bet here, because that is a pretty scary board.
Yeah.
And well, I'm surprised he's actually called.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big call by Chaminade, a very big call. I think I would have liked to have been the better there, because if I'm in a board like that and I've got something that, that I'm likely to take the lead in the betting, even though the other guy's got it, for the simple reason I want to try and protect my hand. So that would make sense to actually take the lead in the betting, but no, she can't call there. I don't blame her, she's got a horrible hand there.
And can I just clarify something I said before, Mark, that's unconnected to that, which is that when I talk about the previous exchanges I've had with players, I don't mean my overall image, because I'm a firm believer that overall image counts for nothing in a sit and go, because you don't play with people long enough for them to go, you're a tight player, right?
Of course, yeah.
But I think that when you've had a key hand, and particularly when you've both shown down your cards or you've shown down your hand in some way, it's about people's memory of that particular interchange.
Yeah.
Rather than their perception of you overall.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all of their decision. I'm not saying they won't think about their cards. I'm not saying they won't think about your image, and particularly, in our position as commentators, of course, they'll think about your image. But I do think that your history, that's why I was talking about my small blind, big blind history with that player. A lot of the time, if I've only bet out with a small blind with something, that's why I hoped that the hand that effectively took me out of the tournament would have been respected more. But I completely take your point. I'm going to factor that in a little bit more that when players get into the last three of the money of a sit and go, some players will just go, I've made the money.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of players make that situation, don't they? I've made the money, I'll take a chance. Yeah. Well, look at this interesting stuff. Chaminade has flopped the straight, 76 to 1 to flop a straight. Done it. In fact, what am I talking about? It's not 118 to 1. It's much worse than that with a 710.
Yeah.
Two gapper. It's actually it's actually 151 to 1.
Is it really?
Yeah, with a two gapper. So wow, and not only that, gets paid as well by the person who's actually got aces. Gosh.
Now look at this, with three-handed at 40-80.
Incredible.
Isn't that amazing?
That is a lot. We've got a lot of play here, haven't we? Now, was this a different tournament in as much that it was extended? I know they do some extended tournaments on certain sites whereby the structures are slower, but this was just a normal run-of-the-mill.
Yeah, it's just
wow, it seems to have gone slow though, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe. That's all I know. Yeah, it's just a 20.
Maybe they have slowed it, I don't know.
Two,
yeah, curious. The other one didn't seem that slow, did it? So it was the same sort of thing. Right, well, they are in an interesting situation. Look at that, Chaminade through the winning hand. She'd actually have ace-5. And the king doesn't care about the ace. He's saying, I don't care if you've got the ace or not. Well, that's a bit reckless there, really. And Chaminade is perhaps missed that opportunity where could have got there, ace-5, but by the same token, she made the right move when it counted, which was she was way behind in the hand, ace-5 against pair of kings. Caspar hits his 2 on the end there. Probably looks like he's won that. Probably would have called a bet there, I think, anyway, wouldn't you? Small bet.
I would have called a small bet. Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
Well, Caspar trying to see if he can win it, and that's a pretty horrible. But Nap, as we've seen, doesn't like to put down hands, so he might not believe you for any of those cards. If you do decide to bet, he's a non-believer, that's for sure. And yeah, I think it's too late now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm just. I think I've lost a bit of momentum there, Mark, because I think betting on the turn, I think would have taken it, and I think I probably should have.
Yeah, I'm not sure he would have believed you on the turn.
No, he probably... No.
I think on the flop he would have believed you.
When I say I should have, I don't mean that it would have worked, because I can see his cards now, but if he had Jack 6, because he only had big blind, I've got no information about his hand. So.
Yeah, I think you've done the right thing there. I think once that turn has come, I don't think you can... Well, you can have a go. He might fold, I don't know. It's very hard to say. Obviously, if he's hit nothing, then he probably has to fold, I guess. But he did have a pair of 2s. I don't know, he might have laid it down.
I'll be honest with you, none of what follows is any of my finest. But I made the money again.
Yeah, well, you've made the money again.
6 times.
The legend does it. Well, Let's see here. This is a top pair against second pair. Possible flush out there, although none of them have a flush draw. And Chaminade takes this one down. Played a fairly solid game. He's had a few lucky cards as well, has Chaminade, but generally speaking has been done nothing wrong really, I don't think.
Nothing at all. No, I think she's played a really good game. That's all you can do?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you can make no mistakes in the game, you can walk away. And even if you do make a mistake, if you walk away and say, you know what, I thought about it and it seemed like the right thing to do at the time, then you can still walk away with your head held high and say, look, I thought it was the right decision and it wasn't. But at least I gave it some thought. A lot of people, all too often, me included, make the wrong decision, do a bit of a Mike Mattisseau blow up and decide that, you know, I acted too quickly, made a rash move and scratching my head when it was called or something. Well, inside straight draw for you here, Cass.
Yeah.
The only problem is your first two acts here, that's the problem. Now, here's a good time for you to bluff, and this is what I mean by playing a small blind. This would be a time that I would actually be putting out a bet.
Let's hope I do.
This is definitely a small blind manoeuvre, a bet on a turn.
Oh, Caspar.
Yeah. Just hoping
See? No focus.
No
Too
much
focus.
typing, huh?
Probably is, Mark, yeah.
Yeah.
Too much answering of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you completely. That's and most of the time that is what I would do. And I genuinely mean it. I don't, you know, if you're not focused, you're not picking up on everything. You look at the table and you go, I've got nothing. Instead of thinking, there's 240 in the pot. I've got a little bit of backup in my inside draw. Have a pop at it.
Yeah.
If I get called, I might.
And that happens generally quite a lot, doesn't it, when you multi-table?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens quite a lot. You miss opportunities like that in multi-tabling, which is why, you know, you do have to start playing less and less hands when you are multi-tabling many tables. So when you're playing 4 or 5 or whatever.
And let me say one thing very important, actually, which is that we're three-handed here, okay? But what's absolutely vital is when I talk about my three-handed strategy of sitting back, it's only because and when there is a good possibility that the other two players will knock themselves out. Now, with such low blinds, that possibility is very, very slight. So there's no doubt about it. There's no difference between us at all. I should be playing loose and aggressive in this three-handed game.
Right.
Because they're not going to knock each other out.
Yeah.
So it's up to me to take the initiative.
To try and take the initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. But this is so rare in Prima sit and goes. Do you know what I mean? That you get to three-handed at 40-80, which is still at 40-80.
I'm surprised you didn't call that last bet for value.
What did I have?
You had Jack 7, but it had been called by the other two. There was one raise and a call.
Yeah, from the small blind. Yeah, you're right. No, it's only 40.
But,
no, you're absolutely right.
But by the same token, it was.
I think that's just my version to rubbishy jacks.
Yeah, I think he might have. He might have played it anyway. Well, it was not a definite call that I would have made anyway. But I probably, having said that, I don't know. I probably would have just left it alone, like you. I think, thinking about it more. Just hope that, like you said, hope that they wouldn't knock each other out. I don't mind playing Jack 7 for a tiny little raise, but I'm on a small blind against 2 players. One of them is a bit of a lunatic. Nat Pans, he's playing quite aggressively, not a lunatic, but he's been playing very aggressively. So I want to be the aggressor in those situations, which I'm not going to be if I've got someone like that to my left. That's when position does count. When you have got an aggressive player, it means that you've got to use that position against him. So a nice bet there by Cass, representing the rubbish that's on that board and the possible diamonds that are out there. And if he's basically saying, unless you've got a diamond in your hand, you can't call me. And he was dead right. Or a queen. This could be an interesting one. A7 against Ace5. Let's see what Cass says. I think I've got the best hand. And he's right. Nat Pans might see that. He's been aggressive, so it wouldn't surprise me if he goes for a re-raise.
No.
Let's see what he does decide to do. No, he folds it. Wow. He's a very strange player, this Nat Pans, isn't he? He seems to be on and off with his aggression.
Yeah, it's interesting though, and that is. I don't mind that with such a low ace. I mean, aces below below aces. Aces below eights. Ace 8, ace 7, ace 6, ace 5, ace 4. I'm really wary of, and we see this, don't we, later on. I'm really wary when someone raises short-handed. Obviously, you know, full-handed, I'm out of there with ace 10.
Just going to say that was a good bet by Nap Hands, King, King 2.
Yeah.
I mean, and a surprising, once again, I think Chaminade missed a little bit of an opportunity there, but, you know, he could have been in there with a 2, I guess. So it was probably not a bad fold by Chaminade. It's very hard to, you've got no kind of draw at all.
It was such an interesting situation with so much play, three-handed. We just so rarely get this.
So sorry, you were saying, Caspar, if I interrupted.
No, yes, I don't. I'm very wary of playing back, so raising and or calling with these low aces because of just the possibility of being dominated. I had a very interesting hand in Prague where this young guy, really nice guy, really good player actually. I really liked him. Made a weak 2.6 times the big blind bet from the cutoff, and I was in the big blind with ace 9, and I moved all in so confidently, and he didn't have much stack. He only had he had about a fifth of my stack, I think, in sort of early stage of the tournament. And he put it down, and the guy next to me said, you know, it's ridiculous for him to put that down because he was like, it was only that much again, but a little bit more than that much again for him to call. And I said, well, you know, if he fancies himself as a good player, he's still got some legs in the tournament, and because I made a reasonable profit by that time. And then he's right to put it down. And I talked to him afterwards. I said I had ace 9, and he said I had ace 7. And I said, yeah, it's a good laydown. It's a good laydown. The guy next to me was saying it's a bad laydown, but I think it's a good laydown because. And what he actually said was interesting. He said if I had 5-6, I'd have called you.
Yeah.
But what he's saying is, I think you had me dominated as an ace, and I think he's right. He's right. Now we'll do the counter argument when we see my key hand in just a minute, because I think it is an interesting counter argument.
Well, we've got middle pair for you, Cass, and up and down straight draw for Chaminade, and
we were both watching this at the time when we both agreed that he looked and felt weak, and his check at the end there. I'm just going to check, but his bet on the turn was weak, even though I only had second pair.
Yeah.
And this is a key hand for me, actually, and this I've got to be honest about as we play through it.
Yeah, that was the one we were watching, wasn't it? That's right, yeah.
So here we go. So I've got kings, nice situation. That's 400 in the pot. So I'm going to raise it up and make a fairly sizable bet. I'm quite happy to win it there and then. Nap Hands doesn't have a decision, folds it. And Chaminade has a6. And that's going to, again, so I would probably fold it there. I'm not criticising Chaminade for not. But I'm saying that's what I'd probably do. And an ace comes down. So what do you do with the kings? So for me, you've got to bet out, because you've got to get information.
And I think you've got to bet out around 500 for me here.
Do you think?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so a little bit less than that.
A little bit less, but he's going to call you anyway.
So basically, he said that he's got an ace.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's saying. He's got an ace. He's saying he's got me beaten. Yes, he could have a pair of tens, but he's saying he's got an ace as far as I'm concerned. But there, as you said at the time, he's giving me the pot odds. Not specifically the pot odds to win my
12
kings,
to 1 or something.
but certainly the pot odds because I know that if I do hit a king, then I'm going to break him.
Yeah.
And there we are. You know, I know I haven't won. We go check, and but the point is, on the flop, I know he's got an ace, so it's right for me to call that additional bet, even though, 9 times out of 10. I'm going to...
You have to call. That's a must call, definitely a must call there, for many reasons. One, you might still have the best hand.
Yeah.
That has to be equated into. He's not going to guarantee that he's got an ace. The second part of that is the fact that, you're getting such big odds and implied odds as well.
Yeah.
So, there's no way in the world anyone should fold that. I think that would be a very bad fold for that bet.
Yeah, if it had been twice as much, I could have folded. I'm only 1 in 20 to hit my king.
Yeah, and plus of the amount that it meant to you at that time in terms of your stack.
Yeah.
So there's the whole bunch of reasons why that was definitely a no fold.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, Cass. Even you're a convert now, I see, to the 7-8. Well done.
It's a beautiful hand.
8-9 for Nap Hands. Raises up, and Chaminade won't call the with the 8-2. Yeah, Chaminade hasn't done much wrong, really, I don't think, so far.
Oh, here we are.
Not wrong at all.
Here we are. This is interesting.
A6.
So there we are. This is it. This is the hand, and it's exactly as you said. So I'm sitting there with ace-8, and this is the kind of ace that I'm just not happy about. So I think this is a mistake. There's no doubt about it. This is a mistake.
80.
I've got a big enough ace now that I should push, because of course he could have it 9-10 Jack Queen King, but
What do? You don't fold here,
I do. I fold.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Oh,
you
right.
said at the time he could do that with King, Queen, King, Jack.
Yeah.
As indeed he has. And,
Yeah.
that hand destroys me. That's
Yeah.
basically the hand that takes me out of the tournament.
Yeah, no, that's I do agree. I think
Yeah.
that was.
So there we go. That's good.
Yeah, I
That's
remember
good
that hand now
learning.
that you mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, you know, for some reason, but to be honest with you, Mark, for me, I'm not making excuses at all. By the way, you know, made a mistake. For me, that's the product of losing momentum. Because on another day, there is no way I'd let someone else at a table take that initiative from me.
Yeah.
With ace-8 three-handed, and you know, an unconfident raise, I should come right over the top.
Yeah. I mean, let's get things into perspective here. He might have still called you because it was only another 800-900 more to him, which would have only brought him down to 2,000. So, you know, he's still, there's a very good, strong possibility he would have called you at that point.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think you've got the best hand. And was it suited yours? I can't remember.
No.
So, but, yeah, now it's put you in this sort of on the back foot, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, now I'm 480 in the pot, 1,000 in my stack, small pair, and I happen to believe, by the way, again, I think that's a bad call.
It is a bad call. It's a terrible
but
call.
That's not me making excuses. That's he hits his card, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, no,
So,
that isn't a good call.
No,
That isn't a good
but
call.
I hate saying that because I don't.
No, I can say it.
Okay, but I don't want it to seem like bitterness because that's the call
Yeah.
that he makes, and that's absolutely
I know
fine.
he can afford it, and it's only a third of his stack. But at the end of the day, he's still got one person behind him. And if he's on the big blind, I say, okay, the call's acceptable because Caspar could be doing it with anything. But at the end of the day, you've only got King 9, Ace 9. I say,
Well,
okay.
the point is you've got and the player to play.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So if you're on a big blind, maybe.
Yeah.
If you've got Ace 9, maybe. King 9, sorry. You know, or if you've got two picture cards, maybe. But King 9, no.
But the and I know we're not doing this, but the for me, I'm fanatical about this danger of saying when you go out of a tournament, saying about someone else that was a bad call. Because the point is, you as the player, you as the bettor, you've got to know they're going to make a bad call. Do you know what I mean? If you ever get this so-called good player cursing some guy and going, "Oh, you effing calling station," it's like, well, why did you bluff him then? You know, why did you try and steal from him then? You've got to know these guys are calling stations.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that was in character or out of character for Nap Hands, but, you know, there's no way that I would ever blame my exit on someone else's bad play. It's our old circles of influence and circles of concern. It's my responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Your responsibility, but it still was a bad call. Okay. I'm afraid, Chaminade, that's all we've got time for to comment on your play there. However, have we got time for an email?
Don't think we have we? Or we've got to get to it
No, I think we've probably got time. I don't think we have time for this email right now. We've got to do it a bit later on. So let's head straight back into our multi-table tournament because we must be pretty close to the end now. We are, in fact, down to the last three. So a few people playing this multi-table tourney are wondering what's been happening. My apologies. I had to watch Cass. We can't not watch Cass.
Well, they were quite interesting games, weren't they?
They were, yeah.
There was a lot. I think there's a lot of, things thrown up from them.
Well, for those of you wondering where everyone finished, let me give you a bit of a run-through on this. We can remember a certain gentleman who was chip leader called Jumbawamba. He actually finished 19th in the end. Just give you a bit of a recap. 104 entrants to this. This is a $10 tournament, a great value tournament because only $1,000 in the prize pool, and the tournament runners added 2,000 into it, which making it 3,000. So everyone was getting triple their monies for value.
And look at it like this, Mark. The winner's getting $912, right? That means the winner has to beat 100 people to get 100 to 1 on his money.
Yeah. Yeah, he's getting, and if he's slightly better than average, and he's what his quid's in, isn't he? Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great tournament. So $900 there. So that's pretty nice for first prize. Some other people that you might want to know. We saw also Portman Road, if you remember, that Ipswich Town person who ended up on 13th. Into the money, we've got Lucky Donk, who finished 10th, $45.60. Crumble, who's a regular on here, $91.20 with 9th. PJPFFC, 8th, 121. Melon Nat, oh, sounds a bit of a duo there. Melon Nat, 7th, $152. Danger Mouse, or Moose, was 6th with 197. Skin Up was 5th with 243. Big something or other, Big Jill, I think, 4th, 288, and that's where we are now. So down to the last 3. Little, as you can see, a little over 200,000 chips in play. Blinds are 153. Lots of play here, Castile. They've nearly got 20 times a big blind, which is unusual even for this situation. And Poker Ice has over 30 times a big blind.
It's such a great tournament.
So yeah, 34 times a big blind for him. So yeah, it's a great tournament. Be interesting to see how this one fares out. Exact Pat. Well, knocks out MJ, who just goes out in 3rd. Well, so Exact Pack and Mr. Poker Ice neck and neck here. Well, big bet there from Poker Ice. He's got to put a continuation bet, and he does. He does do it weakly though, a little. 21, 9 into 21, and but he takes it. I think he got away with that one a little bit. It smelt weak, and Exact Pat wouldn't have been wrong to actually put a bet out there, but it was dangerous. It would have been a huge amount of his stack to actually risk on him making a wrong read. He would basically have to put in about 30% of his stack to realise that he might have got the read wrong. So interesting stuff going on here. 15-3 of the blinds. Lots of play here now, hey? 33 times a big blind. Lots of play. No one should be going out here without a good reason. Without a good reason, yeah. But they've been playing very aggressive, haven't they? Both of them. They're both doing a lot of their action pre-flop, which takes a little bit of the play out. Because it now builds a pot up very early, which means there's not a lot of play post-flop because people get pot committed. Oh, look at this. Well, 10 kicker plays at the moment. There's a good chance of a split pot, but it doesn't need a jack or above to appear. Yeah. That 8 does change the fact that Exact Pat has now got the chip lead. Oh, sorry, got the lead in this coup. Right, yeah. No spade. So he's going to take a chunk there. Yeah. And Poker Ice, don't blame him calling with that 5. Probably thought it was the best hand. A little bit dangerous.
You know, I know I sound like a broken record, Mark, but don't you think these players play quick?
They do. They play extremely quick, and there's no reason for it.
I sound so boring, I know, because I bang on and on.
Do you about that?
Yeah, I really do, but I think that they do. I mean,
I can't play that quick. No.
It's the single biggest difference between these players and you watch players playing a final table. It's not just the speed of thought. It's the fact that when you do then stop and think, it's such a massive tell. I'm not saying that you should let it time out. I hate people who let it time out.
You're exactly right. That is a very, very good point, and it isn't the fact that you do think, that you time, but you are giving a tell by thinking so much. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's very true, and I can't agree with you more. It's one of my, I would say, in my game, it's probably my biggest flaw, not giving it enough thought in certain situations. I sometimes let that slip, and I make a rash decision. That's probably my biggest weakness. In fact, it is my biggest weakness. There's no two ways about that. So, it is important that if you are playing, that one of the key things you want to do is actually give it that time to think. One, it reduces the idea of people getting any kind of tells on you as to your speed of play. Plus, it helps you make the right decision. More importantly,
I think we've said on this show many times. We've got a group of viewers in our audience who have really come on so much in the year that.
Look what's happened here, Cass. You've got triple threes against them. Wow. Exact Pat's getting everything his own way at the stage. Yeah. And Mr. Poker has done well not to lose a bit more out of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think he should have knocked him out post flop with that, didn't he? He should have made the bet bigger. Yeah. He couldn't have called him with nothing there. Yeah, sorry.
So it's just an audience who've come so far, but they're always asking us for, what book shall I read, what info, and all the rest of it. And here, interesting.
Yeah, I think this is it, isn't it? Yeah. He's not folding this. It's just a case of whether the other guy puts all his chips in, which he's going to do, isn't he? Yeah. He's got an inside straight draw. He's got top pair. He's not going to get away from this, I don't
Has
think.
he got a belly buster, in fact?
Yeah,
It's
he's got an 8.
5, 6.
Is it 4, 5, 6, 7? 4, 5, 6, 7.
No, he's still inside, yeah.
Yeah, just inside, yeah.
So, you know, a group of people who
folded it,
are hungry for money. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got away from it. Yeah, no,
incredible.
I think it's. I think
that's very good
sound
play.
fold.
Yeah.
Group of people who are hungry for knowledge, and I still come back to this thing of there are so many people in this audience who know enough. Do you know what I mean? They know so much. It's about executing it, and I do honestly think that there's one single simplest thing you can do to execute better is take your time to process more information.
Yeah.
Well,
I've said it quite often. You know, people say to him, "What advice can you give me?" And so many times I'm saying, you know what, the best advice I can give you, just think about your moves and what you can do. Think about the options that are open to you. If you can do that every hand, you can't say you've ever made a mistake. Sure, you might get it wrong, but if you thought about it, that's the only time I walk out of a tournament getting upset with myself that I didn't give myself the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I know if I give myself the opportunity of thought, then at least I can get up and say, you know what, I thought about it. I got it wrong. I got the read wrong. I walk away. Okay, these things happen, but to actually not give myself that opportunity is where it really is a killer. That is really sacrosanct. That is really the worst thing.
It's that moment where you move all in, and the little voice inside your head is screaming, "At least take some time," and actually probably not, because he's going to call you. Do you know what I mean? And you just think, if I literally had taken 20 more seconds to crank up the volume on that little voice inside my head, I'd still be at the table now, instead of walking to the car park.
Well, this could be the hand here, Cass. We've got overcards, flush draw. This deserves all his money in the pot, and I don't blame him. Oh, dear. Yeah, well, let's finish it off. I don't blame you on that one, Mr. Poker Rice. You're a favourite against him. You know, he only had a pair of sixes. You were a favourite in that situation, I think. Overcards and a flush draw. And a backdoor straight draw, 3-card to a straight. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're a favourite. Not much of a favourite, but a little bit of a favourite. Well, interesting tourney.
Absolutely, and Exact Pat takes $1,000 for his $10.
Yeah.
For first place.
Not bad, is it?
It's brilliant.
$900 for $10. Good return.
For a field of 100.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, we've got an email here from Robelido. Robelido is saying, thanks for your email, Robelido. He's saying, hi, Mark and Cass. Hi, Robelido. I was wondering if you could go over a play I made and see what you think. First hand of the multi-table tournament, I was playing, and I was dealt Jack 10 of diamonds, suited in mid-position. Folded round to me, and I called. 3 other callers and big blind checks. Okay. Flop gives me a royal flush. Okay. It was checked to the turn card, and the turn comes to 2 of diamonds. So I figure that at least one other person will have a diamond. The guy first to lead bets the pot, 2 fold, and I call. The river comes 4 of diamonds, leaving a flush on the board. I know this guy has a diamond, and it must be higher than the 2, so I tried a sophisticated play. I went all in, hoping he would see it as me making a bluff, and with 2 non-diamonds and bet into me. He folded and put in the chat box that he was folding the 7 of diamonds. I showed my royal. Do you think I should have put out a value bet, or was it too sophisticated for the multi-table tournament? Great show, guys, and love the jacket, Mark. Oh, thank you. I think that's the best part of the whole thing. What do you think? Too sophisticated?
Okay, this cuts to the heart of a very, very important poker concept, which is the concept of expectation. I find that poker discussions on subjects such as this become bogged down by completely spurious details, which is what the guy happened to have and did on that particular occasion. In exactly the same way that, you know, yes, you can play 6-2 in Hold'em and you can win when the flop comes down 6-6-2. It doesn't mean that playing 6-2 was correct.
Yeah.
It might be correct to play 6-2, I'm not saying it never is, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. Well, in exactly the same way, it doesn't necessarily make a play correct or incorrect because the guy happened to call or fold in that situation. The point about poker is that actually the opponent's actions are just as uncertain and unknowable, and therefore only exist in probability terms, as the next cards to be dealt. So the concept of expectation, which you'll know a number of things off by heart when it comes to the cards that come out, also applies to a guy's actions. Now here's what I mean. Let's say you've got 1,000 in your stack, and it doesn't really matter what's in the pot, but let's say you've got 1,000 in your stack. If he is 90% likely to call a bet of 100, that gives you an expectation of $90. Okay? If he's 30% likely to call a bet of 1,000, that gives you an expectation of $300. All right? Even though he's going to fold 7 times out of 10 when you bet the 1,000, you still have a higher expectation with that bet. So the answer to the question is, I don't know because I don't know that particular player in that particular circumstance. But you're looking for the profit maximising amount, whatever that is, whether it's all in, whether it's 100, whether it's 50, whether it's 44,000. And it doesn't matter, you're not definitely looking for him to call on that particular occasion, and that's what's absolutely key. In life and in poker and in any kind of gambling, if you want the bet that's most likely to win at a horse racing track, you bet on the favourite. That's the horse or dog that everyone has agreed is most likely to win. But if you go to the dogs or horses and just bet on the favourite all the time, you're going to lose money because the bookies are offering you prices which by definition are negative expectation propositions. That's how they make their money. So you're not looking for the bet or opportunity in poker which is most likely to succeed. And you have to make that adjustment in your mindset if you want to be a winning player in the long term. So I know that's not answering the question completely because I can't answer it. I don't know who he is. I don't know what the situation was. I didn't know what cards he had, etc., etc. I think, for what it's worth, I think the all-in move is good at that point. But it does actually depend on the sophistication of that other guy. And you need to ask yourself personally whether you think he was sophisticated enough to give yourself a probability that makes it a profit maximising bet with a positive expectation. I hope all that's clear. I'm fairly passionate about it because I think it's an area where even a lot of pros get bogged down by it. Yeah. Even a lot of pros will analyse hands and go, oh, well, he was never going to call that. No, it's not that he was never going to call it. It's just that he didn't on that occasion.
He didn't, yeah. And I think it's all about getting, like you said, about maximising probability. It does sound to me it's very hard, to make a judgment, on that situation.
It is
very, very hard. My instinct, and I'm only really telling you by instinct. My instinct tells me that it was not because it's too sophisticated. I just think that no one wants to really do that on a call. Yeah, if you're not giving them an opportunity to re-raise you, that's one thing. And so all can do is bluff off all their chips by calling with a 7 high.
Kevin McBride did.
Yeah.
Kevin McBride did when what's his name? Who beat Kevin McBride? Scotty Nguyen.
Yeah.
When Scotty Nguyen goes all in and he says, you call that bet, it's all over. He's gone all in.
Yeah.
And Kevin McBride calls him and plays the board.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of players, he does that for the World Championship. I know Kevin McBride wasn't the greatest player in the world.
Yeah.
But he still got to the top 2 in the World Series, and he still calls it.
Yeah. So, good point. You have to get it right. Yeah. So you have to get a good read on a player. It's a little bit hard to do that online sometimes. But
it is. It is. Yeah. It's harder to do that online. But that's why you're working with probabilities.
Yeah.
So, that's where Poker Tracker can really come in, because if you've got some details on this guy's calling propensity...
That's the thing, yeah.
Then you can really use
You need to have some history on him, don't you?
But it's the same thing. If you'll do that 30% of the time for 1,000, that's a higher expectation than 90% of the time with 100.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Rob. Got a little bit of information for you. This Sunday we're going to have a qualifier, the first qualifier for the Poker Bowl final, which is going to be pretty exciting. There's going to be lots of Poker Night Live viewers registering for that.
Excellent.
So that'll be very exciting stuff. So I'd strongly recommend it. If you get a chance, Cass, you're going to be playing it?
Certainly.
I might end up there, you never know, under my secret pseudonym. But anyway, so that's on Sunday, and tune in for Poker Night Live to see that. From us, I'm afraid it's where we're going to have to round up, but it's been good having you. So from me and Cass, good night.
See you soon. Take care.